Hey everybody, Roar of the Lions UK, Matt, Ryan and Ash just getting set up here. We've got Ant coming in as well in just a second. Boys, how you doing?
Doing all right, doing all right. Recovering from this weekend, running around on the field like a madman for 6 hours in Great Yarmouth, the greatest city in the UK. Not.
I didn't even know that was a city.
Is it? Is it a city?
It might not be. I'm just ragging on the place. Like Jesus Christ, the traffic in that. It took us 40 minutes to go. What was supposed to be 8 minutes in the car.
I've always thought of it as basically like a Western Supermare for something that I know a bit more.
Yeah,
It very much looks like it in pictures. It looks quite pretty, actually. I don't know.
I just
How
have,
did
I have bad, I was about to say I have
how
bad memories there.
how was it?
Overall, it was actually kind of good to actually playing a game. So people know I'm wearing the jersey now. I play flag football over here. I'm a pass rusher for some reason. I went in thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to be a DB. I am now the second string pass rusher. Didn't get a sack. Technically, should have got a PBU. I got my hand to a pass, tipped it up, and it got intercepted. And because it got intercepted, I didn't get the PBU. So I'm basically just John Kaminsky, load of pressures, couple of batted passes, nothing much else.
Like John Kaminsky, and that no one is aware of your existence.
Yeah, true. I'm just there on the Playways app. 3 appearances, no tackles, no sacks, nothing.
Oh man, that sucks. How was your weekend, Ryan?
Uh, I mean, pretty much every weekend right now is horrible because I'm just waiting for football season to end because it's just a disaster.
Are you
Every
staying up?
moment, every moment Bradford City endure on me is just like needles to my eyes.
You're 11 points clear of the drop, and they Grimsby have 8 games to go, so you should be safe.
I wish we weren't. I'd rather be relegated because that's force of sale. That would
Yeah.
genuinely be the only way we actually get the club back.
You want to go through what we did, get the relegation, be sold, rebuild, come back better.
We need to tear it all down and start again. So
The problem with that, though, is that you can languish down in the lower leagues for such a long time. If you can do it without doing that,
there's no difference between National League and League Two. League Two is an absolute dumpster fire.
oh man. I guess you open up the purse strings because you haven't got financial fair play down there.
We don't have FFP, but we don't have purse strings. Like, there's no to open. It's just a bag of spiders. And a German owner that drives around on his full-size scale electrics in Bradford City colour cars. He comes once every 2 years to watch a game, don't give an interview, and don't care how we're doing because we're just a nice little earner for him.
Sounds like the Tigers owner. Uh, I don't know. I haven't had an update from Ant about his progress, so I am thinking maybe we get on with it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then we'll just mix him in and say hello as and when. Any issues with you reviewing your guys, Rye, or are we good to go for all three?
No, I've got notes on all of them, yeah.
Cool. I'm kind of thinking that we have a general talk about the other people that we haven't talked about maybe at the top because we've got more late day 1, day 2, and day 3 picks. So we haven't really talked about any of the high guys. So if you guys are happy with talking around the subject later, and I just throw out some names and some quick thoughts on people if anyone's watched them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. As always, people, we will be taking questions after the show, although I need to talk with the guys after the show, so we're going to cut that somewhat shorter than we normally do, but get your questions in and we'll have them covered. I don't actually know how long this show is going to go on for, so let's see what happens. You know what to do, just at the channel name so that I see it as we go, because otherwise I can miss them. Alright, let's get the show on the road.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 261, Control, Alt, Delete. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Ryan McCluskey and Ashley Soden, soon to be joined by Anthony Fitzpatrick. How you doing, boys?
Doing all right for once.
Not bad. I like the name.
Yay!
I think everyone in the comments got it. If they didn't, well, probably football coming up for them if they didn't understand that. It was pretty self-explanatory.
I'll take it. I like it. We are, of course, if you couldn't tell from the name, we are going to be profiling the offensive line for the 2024 NFL Draft. And the reason why we've picked this first is, yes, the Lions have a starting five right now after the signing of a player that we're about to discuss. However, the two guards that we have are the wrong side of 30, with Frank, with injury issues, and Decker in a contract year, and with the strength of this offensive line class. You have to be thinking that the Lions from round 1 to 7 are considering offensive line in terms of getting a guy who can provide depth now if one of these guys goes down, but is going to be the starter in future years. So it's going to be a position not of need, but of necessity for the near future for this team. So hence why this is one of our highest priorities to have a look at. But before we get into that, just want to talk to you about our normal preamble stuff. So our Discord channel, Bob Oland's come out with a great name there. So he just said, should have called it Hold Me Like a BB, which is just so good.
Well, look at my Twitch. Hang on. Look at my name.
I wasn't looking at it. All right, calm down. I didn't even look at it.
Some plagiarism there.
Yes, maybe he wasn't claiming it for himself, just laughing at your name, and I just completely missed it. Anyway, never mind that. Discord channel is going to be a great place for draft stuff all the way through, and then it'll obviously be a hotbed of conversation during the event itself. We've got people going out to the shows. If you want to chat with us on there too, come and join us on there. The link is in the live description right now. College Football Podcast. Rye, you were on that this week. What did you talk about? Last week, even.
Oh, we ranked all the positions. Our top 5 guys. I did the top 5 guys I think are best in class, and did the 5 guys probably best for Detroit. So we went through all the positions individually, and yeah, if people didn't agree, well, tough. But go back and listen.
We've also got a college football podcast coming up this Saturday, I think. It's going to be a special. It's on the HBCU bowl game, but also about HBCU football in general. We've got Coach Huggins coming on for his second or third appearance on the show, who was a scouting assistant for the Shrine Bowl as well as lead scout for HBCU prospects. So if you're interested in HBCU football, if you want to have a listen about some sleepers in this upcoming draft, this Saturday is what you're after. That is Saturday, March the 30th. Hello, Anne.
Hey, how we doing?
Do you want to explain your name?
The Ant-Man in German, because we're now a German franchise.
I got it.
Der Ameisenmann.
Amazon Man. The Ant-Man.
No idea, but there we go. Cool. All right. Anyway, and I know that you have worked hard to get Coach Huggins on, so just talk to us about what's coming up on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. So, HBCU football, best in terms of draft prospects, legacy bowl, all that sort of stuff. Gerald, he's so very clever about all this. He does a lot of, he does training for some of the teams. He's been at the senior Shrine Bowl this year. Like, he's one of the foremost authorities on HBCU football out there. He's very passionate about it, and we're glad to have him back on. It's his second year in a row, and just gives people a chance to look at some of these guys who you don't really get talk about otherwise. Like, there's some big prospects out there from the HBCUs this year. Sunday Arthur Anderson's going to get drafted, Mikey Victor's going to get drafted, and there's a whole plethora of others who might as well. And not a lot of attention gets paid to them. So, it's going to be good to have him back on again. He's very busy, and it's good of him to give us our time. So I'm looking forward to that. On
another bit of news, Polar Knights has just commented on Twitch that as always, this is the best show for the perfect evolution of beard growth. And I do think from myself to Ash to Rye, it works quite well. Anyway, if you're not watching on YouTube or Twitch, you got to come just for that. Right. Don't forget to like the show, sub to the podcast, all that good stuff. Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized, blah, 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 blah. Who cares about that stuff? Let's get to this offensive line class after the news. That, in terms of offensive line stuff, we have made a signing in the last 7 days. In fact, it was just an hour after we finished our last show that right guard Kevin Zeitler comes over on a 1-year deal. Contract details not yet disclosed, which is slightly frustrating because the devil's in the details. We will know with these sorts of things. But, boys, there was a gaping hole at either guard position with only Graham in there and a fifth rounder from last year who had his ups and downs last year. This is... We had a gap to fill, but I think we all thought we were going to the draft to fill it for a starter need. Are you happy with this as a signing? Does it matter about the contract details massively? What are your thoughts on the Zeitler signing?
For me, I actually tweeted the day before that when we did the re-money, I thought we were getting Dalton Reisner. I thought he was there to be had, and I thought when we saw the sign, I was like, that's fine. I wanted a guard. We've got a guard. We've got a guard that's been in the Pro Bowl and like top 10 in like PFF and like run blocking for like 2 or 3 of the 4 last seasons. Like the guy, sure, he's 34, but we only need a stopgap. We need a plug-in guy to play this year, and we will still draft the future. It's interesting that he's going to play right guard, kicking Graham over to left, which it'll be interesting, like I say, to see how he makes the adjustment kicking over. But I have every faith in Graham. Like I say, he's between 2 very good guys, and he knows them just as well. So I don't feel like there are any team issues. We've probably got the best 1-year right guard on the market, as Dolan would have been along a bit more of a commitment multi-year. So for me, makes total sense. It was a glaring hole in the offensive line, and if he wants to be back next year, like I say, health, body, is happy, I'm sure he'll be a consistent guy. He could spend another year or 2, so it's a short-term need, but it could also warrant long-term dividends. And contract-wise, I'm expecting 1 year, 8, 9, 9.5 million, probably something like that. Don't bother me. It's money well spent. And we have just saved technically, well, we know like 1.5 million, so that can go towards it as well. So it's one of those. It had to be done because, as you said, like say in the thing, I think this time next year we'll be missing 2.5, 2.5 of this line potentially. I think we'll be gone or on the way out, which does worry me. So yeah, reinforcements duly needed.
I mean, I called it last week, didn't I? We had that question, is there more guards? And I said, oh, Kevin Zeitler's still on the market. And what happened with Graham, I have all the faith he can do it, because I think for at least the first 2-3 years with us, he played that left guard position. It was him, it was Decker, him, then either Swanson, and then for a bit, and Swanson and Ragnow, then whoever's on the right-hand side. He's done it before. We know he can play there. He even played there last year for us, the first Tampa game, for example, when Jonah was out. Graham could just slide in there. It's all good. But yeah, Zeitler, just the power next to the agility of Saul will help Ragnow as well, protect his right-hand shoulder. It's just a perfect sign. Like, we're back to the best offensive line in football now. Eagles have no claim since obviously Kelsey's gone. We have the best offensive line in football, and there might be a bit of a gap between us and them and whoever's below, because we've also made the Ravens weaker by signing this guy because they don't have him now. Consistent guard. Obviously, listen to his profile on him, because obviously he watched him in Browns for a couple of years when he was the highest paid guard. But wherever he's been, it's been a damn good starter. Be it the Bengals where he was drafted, the Giants, the Browns, the Ravens, and now hopefully with us, just Mr. Consistent on that offensive line, which is kind of what we need, because Jonah, as good as he was a bit inconsistent. Zeitler could be a nice stabilising force.
Yeah, it's a really good signing for the Lions. It gives you an immediate starter. at the position, so you don't need to worry about blooding in a rookie, especially in a year where you're going to potentially want to go for it all. That's what it could be. But it's 1 year an offensive deal. So if you want to start Zeitler, get him playing in there, you want to draft a guy, you want to slowly develop him into the team and gradually phase Zeitler out over the year. If age and form do become a situation, then it's kind of a best of both worlds situation. Or option 3, he plays all year, has a good year, we send him on his way, the new guard takes over. So it just gives you a lot more versatility at the position now. You don't really have to go and get a day 1, day 2 starter. You can get a day 3 guy, well, whatever you want. All avenues are open, but it allows us to compete now, which is the most important thing. So, age doesn't matter with him. He's playing really well. He's played really well over the last few years. So yeah, it's very, very shrewd signing from us. We live and die by our offensive line. We now don't have a hole on it as far as starters go. So yeah, good business. Good business by the team.
Zeitler's played in the NFL for 12 seasons. He's never played less than 799 snaps in a season. He's never had a PFF grade lower than 65. And, his first 5 years were his best in Cincinnati. Bar only a couple of seasons, but those were his real heights. And yet he's been in the 70s in PFF grades for 6 of the last 7 years. Much more highly rated as a pass blocker than he is a run blocker, but the run blocking scheme, according to Riz, is basically identical between the Ravens and the Lions. So although he's not particularly highly graded when it comes to run blocking, the scheme should translate quite well. So should fit in, should just be able to plug and play. And it should be the easiest job in football, playing between Ragnow and Sewell. So high hopes for this to just be a seamless transition. And yeah, you're absolutely right. This is not the time where we want to potentially blood youth. There'll be places where we have to in the draft where we maybe, take a corner or something and they get thrust in a bit earlier than we would like. There will be some places where it's necessary, but on the offensive line, not this year if we can help it, I think. So, shrewd signing. I actually anticipate less than Rye does contract-wise. I wouldn't be surprised to see this be around the 6-7 million mark, but we'll see what happens. All right. Next bit of news is my guy unfortunately retiring from football. Romeo Okwara has stepped away from the game after a post on Instagram thanking his fans and the city of Detroit for welcoming him. And just very briefly, he's the sort of guy that I absolutely love to watch play because he just played with a smile on his face all the time, that was kind of grateful for everything that he got. Went undrafted, I believe, and then got cut from there after a couple of seasons, and we picked him up on waivers, and he went from, that's the sort of route that people take when they're going to fall out the league early, and he just came on, so quickly here to the point where we ended up giving him a massive contract, and while injuries derailed the last part of his career, he justified the payment. He was our first 10-sack guy for some time when he made that leap in the best of his era. He played his best football at some of our darkest times and was a bright spot in it, and he deserved everything that he got in his career because he absolutely grinded for it. He was a player built for this era, but was just unfortunately a bit too early on the team for it. So he goes with my best wishes as the president of the Okwara fan club. Any thoughts on Romeo before we move on?
He summed it up pretty well.
Yeah. It's a shame, like you said, that he played his best football when the team wasn't ready for it. We kind of sucked, didn't we? Saying that's just, can you imagine if he had his 10-sack year like last year or like this year? It would have just been such, like I say, it would have probably maybe been the difference between an AFC Championship and a Super Bowl. So the timing just off. But he's young. He's now healthy. He's done his football. He's made his money, helped his family, and now he's free to do whatever he wants. So yeah, it's not like he's limping out the league, like I say. And yeah, be interesting to see what he does do next. I think he's a businessman, so I imagine he'll have some irons in the fire here. And now, like I say, he can spend time helping Julian. Like I say, might go watch Julian play as well. So yeah. All
right, let's move on to the horrible news about Cam Sutton and what's happened with him. So obviously he has a warrant out for his arrest. Still hasn't been found at the time of recording. We hope that he's okay, first and foremost. Obviously, everything that's involved with him, other podcasts have gone into that. Just going to ignore that and hope that from this point onwards, everyone is going to be healthy and well, or that they get the help they need. The Lions have cut him with a June 1st designation after all of this has happened. Contrary to the report that said we got $1.5 million worth of cap relief, that was incorrect. We get no relief whatsoever. The $1.5 million was actually guaranteed on the 5th day of the league year, which passed before we cut him, which is a shame for the Lions in terms of purposes. However, they're in the process of voiding his guarantees, so while they have that $1.5 million still on the hook at the moment, they should get that back. However, Jeff Risdon was right to point out on the Detroit Lions podcast that the process for the former New England Patriot tight end Aaron Hernandez took 3 years for them to get that cap back. Now, because it's not going to be a murder trial, that it is anticipated it will be a lot quicker than that. But it may not be this season. It could be next off season. You know, these things just take time, especially given that he's AWOL. That obviously lengthens the time at which it might take to happen, because apparently the legal process does have to take its course before we can get that money back, because you can't have someone not be convicted and do them for breach of contract, because they haven't breached their contract until they've been convicted. So at the moment, the Lions are still on the hook for all of the money this year. And then because of the June 1st designation, 6.54 million dead next year. If it wasn't a June 1st designation, they would have added to their cap hit this year by 6.54 million. So that's why they've used the designation, because otherwise it would have just made things worse for the cap this year. That 10.5 million is coming back. It just might mean that we have extra money to spend in 2025, but let's see. They could also sue for his signing bonus if he's convicted, but that takes even longer than just voiding the guarantees that I talked about, and that would be for the remaining 6.5 million dead next season. So those are the cap implications. For everything else, just wishing everyone well. The Lions gain... do you guys want to speak on Cam? I don't know if that's just enough. All right, we'll move on. Finally, a bit of news. The Lions gain global marketing rights today for Canada, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland for the next 5 years in terms of their connections to those particular places. We have just recently signed Matthew Betts, and we had Christian Covington on the team last year. Amon St. Brown comes from Germany, at least in part. In Austria, Michigan has connections through Bernard Reimann, who used to play for Central Michigan, and Ash does not think we have any ties to Switzerland, but never mind. There it is. And thank you to Lost Oceans for subscribing at Tier 1 for 12 months. There's 1 year's flown by. Keep up the great content. Mushy peas for everyone. I endorse that statement. I have to admit, I understand the idea of global marketing rights in terms of you're allowed to do events and stuff like that. I don't really understand the need to restrict where you can do them. Why not just throw events everywhere? But I guess the countries do make sense for the connections that we have.
I don't want to disrespect anyone in the chat, but it's the NFL shitting on the Lions. Canada is just... That's such a low-hanging fruit. Like I say, it's not really a massive market that the Lions are going to push into, since they're basically next-door neighbours. Switzerland, I know we've got Swiss Twitter fan, but Austria, it just feels like the NFL is not asked about pushing Detroit. Like I say, South America, Asia, like the huge markets. Okay, maybe the Lions would have struggled there, but at least let us try. Like, we've got small nations where it could be hard to gain a real... I don't know. Like I say, I don't want to disrespect anyone from those nations, but yeah, I wanted more. I'd have loved Ireland, somewhere like that, or like say an Asian country. But yeah, Germany's cool, but Austria, Switzerland, just a bit. Nah. They're not getting games because they're. I don't see games anytime soon in those countries. If we're totally honest. And if they're not large nations that are going to get games, like, I don't care.
Barring Germany, of course.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, boys?
Yeah, I think just Austria and Switzerland were just a package deal with Germany. We kind of, without going a bit 1930s, 1940s, they are kind of connected together a bit in terms of heritage and stuff. So I can see it's a kind of package deal. We have connections in Germany. Like Amon Ra was pushing for it last year.
How did we not get an African country? We've got like some of the most African players in the league.
Yep.
Someone else did get Nigeria, though, didn't they? I can't remember who got Nigeria.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland.
I mean,
they got him.
There's a big opportunity if the Lions, because the Lions have fans over. If you Detroit Lions want to pay us all to go to Switzerland for a week, we will go and promote the Lions there for you. Put us up in a nice spa somewhere, nice, relaxing, up high in the mountains. We'll go and spread the good word. Same with Austria as well. If you want to send us to Vienna for a week, and we will do lots of work there for you, promote the stuff. I mean, that could be a partnership made in heaven. So if anyone from Lions is listening, we'll help forge these links for you. You just got to pay for us to go there.
Jeremy Reisman's just dropped some breaking news. He's been meeting with Rod Wood at the owners' meetings. The new uniforms will be dropped before the NFL draft, so they are coming in the next 4 weeks. So looking forward to seeing what we're doing there, because it's the topic of much heated conversation. I can't wait for
the new black uniforms.
Really annoyed.
Yes,
the new black uniforms are coming before the draft.
Recent NFL uniforms have been terrible. I am dreading this. Please don't screw it up. Please don't give us some Google to play.
Yeah, that's definitely what Jeremy's just said. The black uniforms. Said it in the Twitch chat. So there you go. There
exactly.
We go. It's confirmed
just look
now.
Just look at the draft cap. What colours are the draft cap?
Black and blue.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
It's got to be an indicator. It's got to be.
Exactly.
Right. Let's get on with this offensive line class. And other draft shows, national and local, have decided to profile many guys, all of which seem to be at the top of the draft. But that is not this show. This show is going to cover rounds 1 to UDFA. And I say round 1 loosely because I think there's only maybe 2 people that we're talking about who might get up there. But there's going to be plenty of day 2 picks and plenty of day 3 and UDFA picks potentially that we're profiling. So if you want to have some interest all the way through the draft, you've come to the right place. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the prospects at the top of the draft that we haven't profiled in more detail at the end. In the live chat again, if you've got any questions, please do just let us know at the channel so I can see it and we'll go round to it. And I don't know what order we're going to do it in, but I'm going to go straight to Ryan McCluskey for his first man. And I think you go ahead and pick whoever you want to go with first, Ryan.
I'll go with the best prospect, I think, of the 3. And I'm going to caption it. It's going to say, Razorback Streets back all right. That's what this segment's called. What would be better than replacing one Arkansas Razorback centre with another? And that is Mr. Bo Limmer. So Bo Limmer, current day 3 projection, makes a lot of sense for Lions. 22, invited to the Senior Bowl this year, 6'5", 300 pounds. So did all his measurements, 9.5-inch hands, 32-inch arm, 77 and 7/8 span, a very respectable 5'22", 40, a 4'57" shuttle, a 175 10-yard split. That's pretty good for a guy of 300 pounds. 36.5 vert, an 11-foot broad jump. I did have to check that. That's giant.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a typo, but and a 747 cone. So 49 career games, 2,842 snaps. As a freshman, 30 snaps at right guard, no hurries or sacks surrendered. Sophomore, 310 snaps, 6 hurries, no sacks surrendered again. As a junior, 795 snaps, now became full-time starter at right guard, just 7 hurries and a sack surrendered. As a senior, 898 snaps. Bit of a rough year, 7 hurries, 4 sacks. And then this year, as a 5th-year senior, 809 sacks, but he would have to play centre this year. So 8 hurries, but 4 sacks, but would play full time at a different position this year. Kicked in tied. So this guy, talk about the numbers, supreme athlete. He is very agile and light on his feet for a guy that's pretty big. Like I say, good finisher. Like I say, he's got an instinct about him that once he gets hands on people, until the play's over or someone has blown a whistle, he does not let him go. He'll pancake you. He'll flop you. Like I say, he might even just laugh in your face. He will make sure that the play's over and you know it is. Footwork for a big man is very good. So out from a guard position, if you want to put him out on a tunnel screen or out on a screen like we've tried to do with Sewell, he has got the ability to get out in front of blockers and then lead the way. He's a big old choo-choo train and gets to the second level, like say safeties, linebackers. It's no bother to him. He can pull across the face, seal the edge, disengage, and then go out and find someone else to lay hands on. And he's able to square up with them, stay in front of them, and not get called for holding. So he's very smart. Like I say, he gets in the way of people. And he does project to have a very solid career as a guard, and he can fit equal zone and run man blocking schemes. And I think he is a natural fit for what we want to do. Like I say, a guard, like I say, very much in the Graham mould, can go in the centre, can play a guard. He's big, he's athletic. And at 22, he's pretty young as well. Not one of these 24, 25-year-old guys. He came out of high school and college very quickly. So he's pretty accomplished under his belt. So yeah, I've got very high hopes for him. And honestly, if we threw like a 4th, 5th round pick at him, I'd be totally fine with that. Like I say, don't have to play straight away because both positions are currently locked down. But this time in a year, he could fit in naturally. If Frank's still here, a right guard, like I say, that Razorback connection, that'd be fun to watch. These two could do some real damage together, I believe.
Anyone else watch Bo Limmer? I can't imagine that Ant has never seen this guy, given the historic Razorback connection that you have.
Of course. You know, I try and stay out of the way of Razorback chat because I am slightly biased towards them sometimes. But no, he's a good prospect. I like him. That it's been very tumultuous for that Arkansas line this year. I think that the prospects have been getting a little unfairly panhandled a bit. It was not good. The starting left tackle, Andrew Chambly, like he's retired from football. They kicked him off the team. He couldn't find another team. He's retired from football. He was that bad. It's put pressure on the guards, the interior guys, to come out and help him. But in terms of running the football, they've always been a great team at that. You know, KJ Jefferson has ran for days. Raheem Sanders has become one of the best running backs in the nation. They love to run it between the tackles with big guys like him up front, moving around. And like I say, he's still quite young, quite adaptable. Those guys love to play across the line as well. They're quite scheme versatile. So yeah, he's a good prospect. In terms of like the centers in the draft, he's not at me number one, but like this is, you know, because again, this is why a lot of us have done day 3 prospects here. That's kind of what we want in the draft this year. We want guys to develop. We want guys who have the traits to develop into long-term starters at the future level. And like we say, we know the history and the pedigree of Arkansas linemen quite well. With Frank, they are built like chunks of iron, and they play like that as well. But they look beautiful at the same time. So, yeah, he is a guy. He is a guy I do like.
Patch, have you watched Bo at all?
Not much. I defer to these guys completely. Like, not really an SEC kind of guy, unfortunately.
I must be
soon enough.
Nah, after we see SBN, they don't want to deal with us anymore. We're going up north.
Ooh.
Just want to thank and shout out Brent DeWitt for the $10 super chat that says ROTL UK. First to hit Stiggers. Lions Brad Heard y'all. Lol. I said that awfully, but Brent, thanks. Appreciate you, and condolences as well. I know you talked about it in the chat, but that sounds awful. Hope that you and the family are keeping your chins up, shall we say. All right. And we just spoke briefly with you and Bo Limmer. How about we talk a little bit about another person who might play in a similar position, Tanner Bortolini from Wisconsin.
Yeah, actually, I'm very surprised Ryan didn't take this, but
Me
when he
too.
didn't, I was like, you know what, screw it, let's go for it. So, Tanner Bortolini, so he is the center, or this year's starting center from the Wisconsin Badgers. He's 6'4", 305-ish pounds, sort of fluctuate between 300, 310 at the moment. So his snap deployment over his career, so he's quite a versatile guy. He's played 469 snaps at left guard, 983 at center, the vast majority this year, where he's been a full starter there. 179 at right guard, 168 at right tackle, and 39 as the inside tight end as the big sixth lineman as well. So immediately off the bat, you've got positional versatility there. He's a 2-year starter, so he played a little bit of left and right guard last year in big chunks, and as I say, he made the move to center this season. So bits about him. So one of the things I really love about Tanner, so the level of competition. So when it comes to offensive linemen, you want to look up who they've gone up against in college and what they're going to come up against in the NFL. And for Big Ten guys, the level of opposition is high. So for the last 3 years before this one, he was training daily with Keanu Benton. He was the defensive tackle drafted last year. I had him as my best one in last year's draft. I don't take away from that. When the Steelers start using him in the NFL, you'll see that there. But then you think he's also played against the likes of Jazane Newton this year, who is the undisputed best defensive tackle in this draft. He's played against Chris Jenkins, who's going to get drafted this year, Keith Randolph, Tyleek Williams from Ohio State. You've got Lucas Van Ness, Logan Lee from Iowa, Adatom Yiwa from Northwestern last year. These are some very stern tests for guys in his position, especially guys who have been, he's not had a set position until this season. Athletically, he is one of the most gifted centers you will find in this draft. So, you know me, I don't really like the combine, etc. But in terms of his combine testing, he was first amongst all centers in his combine testing and his athletic figures. And that translates to when you watch him on tape. This guy, he is uber quick off the snap. I mean, he's always the first guy who's out of his stance, getting ready to make a play on there. You'll very frequently see him darting around. He's helping multiple of his offensive linemen. You'll see him hit the left. You'll see him help the left guard, the right guard. He'll go and make a block at the second level. Like, if he's not got an assignment or a job, he will go and find something to do. And with that speed and that athleticism also comes great maneuverability when it comes to getting out on the perimeter to screens when they have him pulling, which they do a lot. Don't forget, Wisconsin, a team who love to run the football, and it just makes a very versatile lineman out of him. This quickness also off the snap. This allows him to negate his short arms. So the arms are a little on the short side for a lineman, but because, again, he's off the snap so quickly, he's in stance and ready to land the first punch out of out of the opposition that he's coming up against. So you don't really notice the fact that the arms are a little shorter there with them. And then he pairs this all with, as I say, his speed and his IQ. So you'll see him picking up stunts, late blitzes. If he sees an opportunity to go and make a play sort of off-piste of the play, if he sees an opportunity to create room for his running back or his quarterback, he'll go and do it. Like, even some of these more nimble linebacker DB types who come in, if they're coming up, they find it very hard to get around him as well. And like I say, if you see him play, it's not hard to understand why. In the run game, so good at getting out to the second level. Even if he's got to do double duty, if he's got a chip or he's got to help double team and then get out the level behind him, he's out there so quick. And as I say, these quicker guys who are coming into blitz, these little linebackers, DBs, he gets hands on them, they're out the play. And there's just so many times you see this happening. And you only have to look at the work these running backs have done. So Braylon Allen, Ches Malusi, Malusi was running at over 6 yards per carry this year. Braylon Allen was running about 5.8. They're really good at running the football on the ground. So there is a lot to like about him. Issues. So these come primarily from him sort of moving around so much. As I say, he's not really found his permanent home until this year at center. So you can still see the little bits of development in his game where he's not quite caught up with some of the more experienced guys. In terms of his work as a center, These are his first snaps he's played this year at centre since 2020. The snaps are clean, which is really promising. You know, there's no low snaps, no botched snaps. It's very good, very well drilled, but they are a little slow. You do see the ball taking a little bit of time to get out to his quarterback, but that is sort of indicative of a guy who's trying to get it right. He's still learning his trade. He's not been able, it's not fluid, it's not smooth, it's not quick just yet, but it'll come with time. So it's a problem that you can easily get across. Because I say, center's not an easy job. As you've seen in the NFL, it's very easy to botch snaps and make things look terrible. But in terms of the techniques and what he needs, he is getting there. He's very aggressive as well. Again, with the shorter arms, with how quick he is out of stance, he can sometimes be prone just to getting a little too aggressive on plays, just overstretches, or someone gets under him, they'll bend him back a little bit. And, you know, generally the smaller guys, he'll have a little problem with. Bigger guys, he's all right, but the smaller ones sometimes can give him a few issues. And then sometimes you'll see he'll overshoot a block a little bit, you know, he'll get a little bit off balance, but these are technical things. They could be worked on. And again, it comes with development because he's got 1,900 snaps at collegiate level, but compared to a lot of guys, it's not as much. So again, just trying to find your home, just trying to develop all this. These are all very fixable things. Does also need a little bit of help sustaining his blocks, his hand techniques, just trying to get guys tied up a little bit longer. But again, it's stuff you can teach. And the development is very clear to see. You can see he's getting much better. And this comes none more so than when you stick on the tape when they're playing Iowa from 2022 and 2023. So when he played him in 2022, he posted one of his worst pass blocking grades of his career in college. But that's because he was up against Lucas Van Ness and Logan Lee. Like these guys were, anyone who knows college football knows that Iowa D-line is insanely good. And you could tell he was a lot more raw at the time. They were sort of matching him with his technique. Van Ness got 3 quarterback hits on the day, all on him, just because of his speed and his ability to get on top of the play really quickly. And like, you know, you could tell this guy was really, really raw. But you fast forward it to this year when they played Iowa, he gave up 1 pressure all game. Yaya Black got him on a play, but he tripped over his right guard's foot. It wasn't exactly his fault. For the rest of the game, you could see he's put on a lot of lower body weight. The mass, he anchors. And against a guy like Logan Lee, who's going to get drafted high in this draft, he didn't have a sniff. He was able to anchor, to move him out the way efficiently, to just, you know, when you see guys sort of collapse into the pocket back on the quarterback, he just wasn't moving. Logan could not move him whatsoever. And you see that, you see the handwork, you just see a guy who's developing his craft. He looks so much better. And this is why you've seen a guy who was widely considered a day 3 or late day 3 prospect when the process came around. People have seen his athletic ability. They've seen the improvements of him on tape. And now, like, you're going to probably go up into day 2 where you're going to get him at this point because he's really good. Again, you just little bits of development. But it's the same with all these offensive line guys out of college. They all need a little bit of a development in their own way. But in terms of what you get for the Lions and why I really like him here, you get the positional versatility in the middle. Can play him at guard if you want to. But I say he looks really refined at center. You just got to get those snaps going a little bit quicker, a little bit cleaner. But apart from that, I really, really like him. He's played in a tough as nails team, that Wisconsin team. It's not thought of much offensively, but that's not his fault. Offensive line does its job, especially in the run game. I think he's going to be really good. You can move him around the line, and long term, he's going to be a big fix for here. He's one of my favorite prospects going into day 2 or 3 on the line. So yeah, for me, Bortolini, he's shown everything I need to see from him. To say athletically, he fits what we're about. You want to use him on pulls. You want to get him up to the second level. You want a power run. He's exactly the kind of guy you want at exactly the kind of position we need to have a developmental guy in. So, yeah, in terms of Bortolini, I can't really say much else about him. He's just a prospect that I really, really like, and I would be really excited if we got him for the Lions.
Ryan, I know you've been the president of the fan club for a while. What does he bring to an NFL team, do you think?
Whether it's guard or it's centre, which it should be centre, anyone drafting him, yeah, he's proved that he can consistently snap the ball at a high level and then get his head up and do damage in the run game. it's going to be someone that it's just pretty relentless. He is just he's a bruiser, he's a mauler, but he's also a bit more finesse than that. Understands handwork, engage, disengage, change, like I say, and get forward out to next level. So yeah, I would draft him on day 2. I think he'd be a day 2 as a centre, and someone, like I say, he could be someone that could win a starting job at the end of a season, depending on how season's going for a team. Just throw him in, see how he does. I think he'll learn the trade pretty quickly. Like I say, and he's part of a very strong running unit coming from the Badgers.
Ash, have you seen anything from him?
Seen a bit, especially after that combine performance. I went and watched a bit, and what a perfect sort of ball of athletic clay for Hank to get his hands on and just mould into that perfect next centre, because Hank used to play there. He's got Frank to learn off for a year or two till the end of that contract. I think Frank's going to stick around to the end of that, honour that. Then Bortolini can slide right in, and it'll be pretty much seamless, I think. This year, you can sort of, again, just learn that hen technique and that, and said, behind Frank, Glasgow, and then slide into that left guard next year when Glasgow's gone. Kind of have that learning group that Frank did year 1, and then just slide in at centre, and it's just going to be a seamless transition, I think. So I love him. Early day 3, happy to take him.
Just a bit of breaking news, and thanks to Ash for posting what Colton Pounty has put on Twitter. Rod Woods has revealed that he was on a league call when he learned about the warrant for Cam Sutton's arrest. The team was able to reach him and suggested that he seek counsel and turn himself in. So the Lions have spoken to Sutton since the arrest warrant was made. Which makes it, I guess, even more egregious that at some level he has not turned himself in, despite the team advising him to do the right thing. But I thought I'd update you on that. I haven't seen anything from Tanner, so I'm not going to waste any time rehashing exactly what you guys have said. Great combine performance. So let's move on to our third player. Ash, you're going to be up. And should we go in reverse order and take Matt Goncalves from Pittsburgh?
Yeah, of course. So Matt Goncalves kind of going under the radar a bit, in my opinion, because unfortunately he did tear his ACL week 3 against West Virginia, which ironically was the game I watched. So I watched it live and then watched it again because it was a damn good pass blocking performance. So in terms of the measurables, because of the ACL tear, he hasn't really done much, but he has measured in. So he's 6'6" and 327 pounds with 9-inch hands and 33.25-inch arms. This season, PFF, in his 3 games, he posted 72.2 offensive grade, 77.3 pass blocking, 69.6 run blocking. And in those 4 games, he gave up 4 pressures, which was 1 hit and 3 hurries from the left tackle position. At West Virginia, in his 42 snaps, he posted 65.3 offensive grade, 82.7 pass block, 67.3 running blocking, 0 pressures allowed. So strengths has started both left and right tackle. So his first 2 years at Pitt, he started at right tackle for them. This past season and a half, he switched over to the left. And it really shows, especially in the pass blocking, as the grade suggests. He's got really good hand usage. And when he does get engaged with a defender, he rarely lets go. He's got really good clamps. So if he gets that edge rusher, they're probably not going to win the rep. And he's very competitive. He plays through the whistle. And even when Phil Jurkovich throws interceptions, he tries to make tackles, and he nearly gets one of them in this game against West Virginia. He nearly gets a shoestring tackle on the DB. And in terms of his pass sets, I just love his pass sets. He's got such good fast feet, gets set, leads the edge rusher away from the quarterback. And then when the protection has to slide either left or right, he's got pretty damn good lateral movement for someone of his size. But in terms of the weaknesses, obviously coming off that torn ACL, he probably won't be fully fit to play until mid-season, probably around the bye, whenever that might be. So it's going to take a while to get there. And he does have short arms, which means he can lose the rep pretty quickly. If the defender gets in there first, he kind of loses, especially on the inside shoulder. When second play against West Virginia, he did kind of get beat on the inside shoulder. Look, it was a run play in the back was able to skirt around and get a couple of yards. But he really does have a couple of issues on the inside shoulder. But we've seen with our tackles, Penne had a similar issue in year one. He's worked out. He's a damn good pass blocker now, so it might be a good place for him to come and learn. And because of his below average physical skills, he's not exactly the greatest mover. It does limit his ability to recover if he's beaten easily. And because of his light lower body, he's quite susceptible to ball rushes. So he just kind of needs a bulk up there, which hopefully, given he's recovering from the ACL, he might be able to just focus on that, get the muscles back there after having the surgery repair, and just bulk up down there. So sort of give you an idea of what he looks like. If you remember the former Bears left tackle, still there, but he doesn't start anymore. The former Bears starting left tackle, Braxton Jones, who again was a later pick, day 3, but he became a starter. He's better in pass pro than run blocking, and he isn't exactly going to be like a star for you. He also won't be the weakest link in your O-line. He's kind of that guy that's in the middle. If you can get an upgrade on him, great, but you're also not unhappy with him starting. So on the in terms of the sort of where he's on the board, he's currently the 12th offensive tackle and the 170th prospect overall, which means mid fourth rounder, so early day 3. But for me, I think he can go a bit high in that sort of mid to late day 2 range, depending on the ball falls, because he really does have that pass blocking chops. So if you need someone to sort of protect a QB's blind side and you don't really have to worry about them giving up pressures, he's your kind of guy. So for us, with our 3rd round pick, if we need developmental tackle who eventually could take over from Decker, this could be the guy. So I love this guy, to be honest. ACC bias maybe, but I could see a fit here.
Any thoughts on Goncalves, boys?
Big shame when he went down injured this year.
Yeah.
He was looking really good to start this season. Obviously, the backyard's one of my favorite games, and like last year, I remember him very vividly because he was like the one lineman in last year's iteration who didn't look like an idiot during the entire game. The defensive lines were murdering both quarterbacks, and like he was the one guy who was able to stand up to that pressure. They had Dante Stills, they had all these great guys on that West Virginia team last year, and he didn't give up a damn thing against them. And this year, he was looking even more impressive. And then he just went down with that injury. Like he looked really good. It's a shame. They've moved him around a lot. Like you've played at right, left tackle, so swing. You have the opportunity if you want to do that with him there. Like in Pittsburgh, they create some maulers on that line, man. Like with both those teams, I look very highly on the trenches at both West Virginia and at both Pittsburgh. You're going to get a good caliber guy from that side. So he's intriguing. It's just the injury. Like how much is it taken out of him? Because obviously he'll have only played, I think it was like 100 snaps he played last year when that happened. He's not played since. It's going to be a development thing. But maybe it's going to knock him down the food chain a little because there's a lot, and especially this offseason, a lot of the day 3-ish type tackles have pushed their stock up. So maybe that might push him down and give us an opportunity to get him a little later. But he's a very good player. That injury is the thing that would worry me, though, out of it all. But as for the player himself, love him, love his work.
Oh, no, me neither, Ryan. Right, we'll move this on to my first guy, but just a moment before that, just want to give a big shout out to Lions Rumble 81 for the $20 super chat. Thank you very much, Rumble. Says, for the culture, respect the hell out of you boys. Keep roaring and soaring. #OnePride. Love it. Thanks, Rumble. Appreciate you watching the show. We are going to move on then, as I say, to my first guy, my lowest guy, but potentially one of the most interesting prospects in an FCS prospects. And I don't tend to venture that low because, frankly, I struggle finding the tape. But Mason McCormick from South Dakota State, the national champion South Dakota State Jackrabbits. He is a 6-year player for the Jackrabbits. He played in... how many straight starts was it? God, that was a really good stat just then, and I've lost it. He played in 57 straight games to end his career, which is just exceptional. Invited to the East-West Shrine and the NFL Scouting Combine, which for an FCS player is a pretty good scalp. In terms of those combine stats, he had an incredible combine. So he came out with a 996 RAS score, which included a 99 broad, 7593 cone, 445 20-yard shuttle, 175 10-yard split, 10-inch hands. He's 6'4", 309. So basically, prototypical height and weight, excellent lateral agility, excellent movement skills, great burst in the combine. But moving on to who he is as a player, playing at left guard, I don't see any reason why he couldn't play any of the interior offensive line spots. To be honest, at his height and weight is quite versatile, to be frank. I managed to only get one bit of tape, which was the national championship game against Montana. And he really popped on, and I will say this now, his lowest graded game of the season. 57 grade by PFF. And I did not see why at all. Thought he had fantastic lateral agility. They used him a lot pulling, and I thought he executed great, got to his stop, made himself a nuisance. Maybe he didn't execute the block always 100% of the time properly, but he was always in the way, which, I mean, is what you need. I noted that I didn't think he was a top-tier athlete, but he absolutely proved me wrong in the combine, so there we go. But great anchor, ability to make a block on the move and carry defenders when they're trying to attack round him. He resets the pocket. I mean, he can really drive his men back, and he's got great mitts. He locks them up, and they just can't get free. He's had a real glow-up after the season's finished, because on the 8th of February, his consensus pick at this time was 302. That was only 7 weeks ago. He is all the way up to 113 now. So he is regarded consensus-wise as a early day 3 pick, early round 4 pick. I think he can do it all. And frankly, I think that's too low even still. From what I saw of him on tape, the only knock on him that I have is he hasn't gone up as against the sort of top tier opposition that you might expect from some of these bigger prospects who are playing in the Big Ten or whatever. If I don't see any reason why he can't hang with these guys, though. He just needs to maybe get a little bit of blooding. So I'm looking at him as a potential year 2 starter. And I think in him, if you take him late day 2, so exactly, where the Lions gave away their late day 2 pick, didn't they? But even then, with the early round 3 pick, I wouldn't be horrified by this at all, because frankly, he's bringing you the athleticism you need. His technique's fantastic. I see a blank slate for us to kind of mould into exactly the sort of player that we want him to be. He is obviously a 6-year player, so he's a bit of an older player, but that doesn't worry me at all. I mean, maybe the best thing about him is that he's consistently improved year on year. His pass blocking has always been fantastic, but in a run-heavy team, his grades went from when he starting in 2020, 65, 71, 80, 90.8. And maybe that's a little bit men playing against boys when you get to the 6th year. But on tape, I don't think that's the case. I think it's just that his technique has improved year on year. So, Rye, I'm going to come to you as the resident FCS guy. Have you seen much of Mason?
Lots. He will no doubt be one of the best players of the whole FCS draft class. And he will be one of the biggest impact rookies. I think whoever takes him, they will have packages where he comes in on rundowns. Could be a 6th man, could be an extra lineup in his rookie year. I think he's one of he's by far, he'll be one of the first FCS players taken in the draft this year. He's just one of the most pro-ready. And I don't know if anyone's talking about his teammate, GG. But like you said, there are two of them, like I said, that could have very good, solid NFL careers. Coming off a very pro line. He's a prolific winner. Like I said, he's an all-round, consistent top pro. And he could have played as an FBS. He could have gone to the FBS. He could have been a small school FBS star, about no shadow of a doubt. But he decided to stick around and win back-to-back nights. And as you say, hardly no injury concerns, consistency, barely ever left the field. And for me, I like my offensive lineman a bit older. I like him a bit more experienced, if anything. Yeah, I would be very happy if we took him, like say, between, like you say, 100 and 130, 140. Won't bother me. I could genuinely see him taking over from Graham towards the end of the year. We could just say, Graham, like I say, take the last 3 weeks of the season off. We're going to throw Mason in. I think Graham would be fine with it.
Anyone else seen any of the Jackrabbits or Mason McCormick?
Not yet.
No. There we go. Okay, right. We're coming back around then to Ryan to take your pick of your last two guys.
So I think one of the realistic options for Lions is KT or Kayatori Leviston, Kansas State left tackle. So he's played nearly all of his career at left tackle, but due to size and lack of height, will probably slot into guard next level. Measured at 6'3", 326 pounds, so he's heavier, got a stronger base. Now the RAS, I don't care about RAS for linemen. It wasn't good. It was only 6.25, only a 27.5 vert, only a 9 feet broad jump. This guy is not the epitome of athleticism, but that doesn't matter. Like I say 5.440, 3.120, a 188.10. Like I say 9.87 hands, 34.37 arms. So another long career, freshman, 53 snaps. So no hurries, no hits, no sacks given up. Sophomore, 7 hurries, 3 hits and a sack. As a junior, great year. No hits, no hurries, no sacks. As a senior, 835 snaps, 18 hurries, 2 hits and 5 sacks given up. And this year, as a 5th year option, 861, his most career snaps, 11 hurries, 2 QB hits, but just 2 sacks surrendered. So pretty much a franchise. Well, did have an injury as a junior, but for a lot of that, he has been a left tackle starter for the last 2 years. So where I mentioned he's not athletic, that's fine, because what he is he is a brick wall. They call him, like I said, when they refer to offensive linemen that work best in a phone booth, this is him. First thing you notice is violent hands. You hear the pop. When a line of scrimmage, he makes contact first, and he's not playing a tickle, he's looking to stagger. Like I say, he wants to disrupt your pass rush move. He wants to stop you trying to get in. He wants to stop you dead in your tracks. Like I say, he is a big guy from the waist down. His base is very strong. Good luck trying to bull rush this guy, because he has got core physical fundamental strength. You're not going to get under him at 6'3" because he's not that tall. So trying to go through him, frankly, just find other ways to do it. Like I say, he is very strong. Like I say, he has got good hips, so he is flexible. He can pick up a stunt or a twist. He's able to adjust at line of scrimmage when someone comes underneath or around, and he needs to tail off or taper off and adjust to the side, and then just funnel them around the outside just to give the quarterback a bit more time. He's very happy to do that. The big flaw is his balance. So if he knows a guy's fast, despite having nearly 34.5-inch arms, which are quite long, he overreaches. So he'll decide before the snap, I'm going to lunge a little bit. Maybe, do I cut them off because I know they're a bit fast? I'll try just get there a bit before them, but he will sometimes lose balance. He may stagger. He may overreach a little bit, like I say, and then sometimes he may have to grab. If you overreach, sometimes you may just get a little tug on the jersey because you've lost your balance to right yourself. So a bit impatient before the snap can sometimes commit too early to what he thinks he's going to do, depending on who he's going to go up against. But for a guy, the Wildcats love to run the ball, Kansas State, and they've done it very well. Their offense the last few years has hummed in the Big 12. They've been a very good, strong offense, and he's been a huge part of that. And as a long-term projection at a left guard, which we will be looking for, I can see him doing it. But right now, like 200 to 300, like I say, so you're talking that late day 3 to UDFA, which is fine by me because there are a lot of things to work on. But the core and the base is very solid, especially for someone that is better going forward than he is dropping back. And I can deal with someone right now that has issues in pass protection, but they want to run the ball. They want to get out in front of someone, or they want to initiate contact, and they want to drive them in at the ground and smash their face into the turf. That's pretty much what you're getting right now. Everything moving backwards can be worked on, like I say. So that's for me right now, like I say, where he's a 6-7 round kind of guy as a project. So yeah, I'd be very happy to take him though, because he's very much in the mold of shorter, stockier, can run the ball. Like I say, he's got a bit of a mean streak when he does it. Understands hand placement and how to get the best out of that, the first contact. Like I say, you only get one chance to make a first impression, and he kind of lives by that. He wants to disrupt you as soon as the ball is snapped.
Anyone watch much Wildcats football? Anyone seen any Katie Leviston?
Well, I had to for something we'll get onto later, one of my players. I agree he's probably going to move into guard, but for me, at least the way that our current offensive line scheme is currently set up, and again, I'll come back to it later because it also pertains to the player I was looking that was next door to him. I think he's a better fit right now for our right guard spot because we use the left guard quite a lot to pull on counters and stuff and all the outside stuff. Doesn't really have the lateral, at least what I've seen from him, doesn't have the sort of lateral mobility to do that. But you stick him at right guard, and let's just see what I saw in Discord. And you stick him at right guard, mauler, power, perfect fit. But yeah, if in that sort of late day 3 pro to UDFA, I'd be happy to take him to sort of work out that guard spot.
And have you seen any of KT?
Yeah, I like it. There's not much more I can add that Ryan hasn't already said about him, but yeah, he's a promising prospect, absolutely so. Yeah, intriguing.
More news coming out of the owners' meeting from Rod Wood, from Dan Millett on Twitter. He says, and I'll quote him directly, "To be clear, Lions President Rod Wood indicated that Cam Sutton was in Allen Park when the Lions learnt of the arrest warrant. He was working with the strength staff when they approached him and they urged him to seek counsel and turn himself in. He left and ended communication with the team at that point."
Oof.
News is getting worse and worse. Christ. Right, let's move this on. And your choice of the next two that you have.
Well, being as Ryan is doing Big 12 left tackles, why don't we stay with Big 12 left tackles to a guy who is probably, I think, at this point, my most favourite of all my day 3 guys and, project guys on offensive line, the next level. Of course, I'm talking about Tylen Grable. He is he's the left tackle from the UCF Knights. So he's played 4 years as a start. So 2 years with Jacksonville State. Then he transferred to UCF for his second 2 years. It's actually, for a guy who's 6'7" and 290 pounds, he's a former high school quarterback. So that'll come back to that later in regards to his profile. His snap deployment in college, 2,566 snaps at left tackle, 84 as an inside tight end. So this guy has played exclusively at tackle and as a sixth lineman on the very rare occasion. And this is where you're going to get Hetty Anthony coming out who's saying he should stay there at the next level. I hate moving guys who've been at one position all their life. But anyhow, moving on. The level of competition. So this is where he's a really intriguing prospect for me and why I think he's going well under the radar coming into this draft. So he started off in the FCS. So Jacksonville State, for those who do not know, they've only just moved up to the FBS level 2 years ago. No, this year. This has been their first year. But when he started with them, they played in the FCS his first season. Second season, they played in the FCS. So in 2021, he was playing at FCS level. In 2022, he transferred to UCF, who at the time were playing in the American, which is in the group of 5 conferences at the FBS level. So the lesser 5, let's say. But needless to say for him, it's a step up in opposition. And he made that step up. In year 2 with UCF this year that's just gone, they transferred to the Big 12. So they actually moved up from the group of 5 to the Power 5 this year. And this is his first season of Power 5 football. So his last 3 years, the levels of competition that he's faced have gone up year on year. So he's constantly had to adapt and evolve his game. And year on year, he's gotten better, which is a huge sign for a prospect coming up to NFL level when you're going to make that jump to show you can constantly adapt and evolve to the next level of opposition that you come up against. And like the Big 12 this year, he gave up 1 quarterback hit. No sacks, just 1 hit on his quarterback. This is as a left tackle protecting the blind side of Plumlee at UCF in his first ever year playing at the Power 5 level. And to think there are guys like Austin Booker, Anthony Goodlow, Khalid Duke, Nelson Caesar. The Big 12 is an unforgiving place for rookie tackles. or for guys who've not played at that level before. You don't get many guys who come up here at his size as a pass blocker and perform so well. So before I go into that, the other thing I love about him, as well as the level in opposition, is the system versatility. So again, for those who don't know, Jacksonville State, they are a very run-heavy team. They are that old-fashioned, mouth-smashing, we're going to run the ball down your throat. You know we're going to do it, and we're going to do it anyway, with a little bit of pass sprinkled in there. So his first 2 years, that's the system he's adapted to. Moving up to UCF, theirs couldn't be more different to what they play. So they play this sort of power zone scheme, a lot of motion. They have the dual threat quarterback with Plumlee. It's been one of the most dominant offenses in the entire nation. They were averaging over 500 yards a game last year. And as a tackle, especially when we come to the next level, to have experience in two vastly different schemes, and I say to keep evolving and adapting your game and to keep playing better and better, that offers him a second level of versatility at the next level as well, you know, because he doesn't change position, but he knows scheme. He knows it really well. And he's highly athletic, and this is kind of what the game is based on. And this is rare for me. This is coincidence. You all know me. I hate RAS. I don't care about athletic guys. I don't care for the testing. I don't care for the metrics. I care what your technique is like. But it's just happy circumstance that he is also another athletic dude. So you go to the combine, he posted a 4.95-40. That was fourth amongst offensive linemen. He had a 36.5-inch vert, which was second amongst offensive linemen. He had a 169 10-yard split. This is a left tackle who can move like a wide receiver. And that's kind of what his game is based on, because he's, again, so quick off the snap. He's 6'7". So these guys who they come up, they have a lot of trouble with rushers getting underneath them, getting leverage. That's generally why a lot of these big guys give up a lot of pressures. But because he's so quick, because he's so fast to get out of his stance and ready for the play, even these smaller, quicker guys find themselves at a disadvantage because he's ready for them. You mix that speed he has with his technique, which I will say is flawless. I love his technique. I love his hands. I love his ability. You know, he lands first, hits, he gets leverage right. Once he locks hands onto you, it's very difficult to get him off. In the past part of the game, it's better. Like I say, it's really good. The one quarterback hit is a 6'7" left tackle. It's unheard of, especially when you're playing your first season in the Power 5. It's just, he's got everything you need to make a really good pass blocker there. Got to do a little more in the run game, sort of when he's on the offensive and he's not sort of standing his ground and getting ready for it. There is a little bit to do. Again, the height is a pain, trying to get the smaller guys, trying to be able to lever them out. It needs a little bit of work, but he has the understanding of system, like very complicated run schemes and very simple ones at the same time. So, like, I just see so much at the next level I like as a development tackle, especially you're going to keep him at the left. It's where he's only ever played. It's where he looks damn good at it. He's shown time and time again that the opposition level doesn't matter. He'll adapt, he'll thrive, he'll survive. I just really like this guy. I really like what he's made of. And they say the athletic ability is really going to stand out for him at the next level. When you get the speedier edge rushers, when you get the speedy small guys, it's not going to phase him. He can deal with them, and he's shown that he can deal with them. And the right offensive line coach and the right veteran to train him up, I think you're going to get a starter out of this guy eventually down the line, maybe as soon as year 2. Like I say, it's just a guy who's proven every year his doubt is wrong. I'm not going to move him. I'm not going to try anything fun or fancy with him. He's got the build of a tackle. He's got all the attributes you need to make a successful tackle. And I hope, I do, if we're going to double dip in the market, he's going to be the guy that we go for. Just in terms of development, like you say, it's development issues with him. Just, you've got to keep getting better. All these guys do. He's had 1 year at the Power 5 level, so sustainable, high-level competition he's against. Still adapting to it, but with time, it'll come. So yeah, Tylan Grable, left tackle, UCF. He's going to be a stud at the next level. I truly believe he is, and I hope we draft him. So yeah, that's who I've got.
Anyone seen any Tylan Grable, boys?
No, but something sounds familiar. A big tackle from UCF? Is this Ryan Saboda 2.0?
Oh, God. All right. We'll move this on, shall we? Ash, your choice of your two.
We'll save the fun one for last. Let's go for someone who I think I'm probably one of the highest guys of in terms of people scouting. The Notre Dame right tackle, Blake Fisher. So obviously playing Notre Dame. Again, ACC bias. As for the measurables, okay, according to Raz, okay size, so 6'5" and 6'5", okay, 310 pounds, 10-inch hands, 34.375-inch arms. In terms of the 40, 5.2 40-yard dash with a 1.81 second 10-yard split. Again, kind of good. Explosion, good. 28-inch vertical, 9'6" broad jump. Agility is where kind of does better. 4.73 shuttle and a 7.76 cone, both good. And on Raz, they compare him to the current left tackle incumbent for the Steelers, Dan Moore Jr., as a kind of like athletic profile. This year, he posted a 71.1 offensive grade with a 72.5 pass block and a 69.1 run blocking grade. He allowed 15 pressures, 3 sacks, 3 hits, and 9 hurries in the season. And for the game I watched, which was Ohio State this year, 76.3 offensive grade, 79.6 pass block, 71.8 run blocking, and he only allowed 1 hurry the entire game against an Ohio State defensive line. Pretty damn good. For me, he's one of his best things is just his ability to use that agility. So he's really quick to reset his feet if he's beaten on a pass blocking rep. And then he shows really good mobility as a run blocker. So there's an instance of him, obviously coming to playing at the right tackle, of him carrying a left linebacker across the formation on a run play, trying to shield him out from the runner. And he ends up right next door to Esther May at the end of the rep. And then there's another instance of him pulling as a lead blocker from an end around from right tackle position, kind of like how Penne does. And again, he's in front of the wide receiver blocking for him. And he also uses his agility to react really well to stunts. So there's a couple of times where Ohio State would send the DT over to him and bring the edge rusher inside, and he was quick to reset, block the DT. And he has a good solid anchor in pass pro. He has that kind of, if you've heard the sort of colloquialism, he has sand in his pants. That's Fisher. When he gets set in his pass pro, he's there, he's good. And he's had experience at both tackle spots, mid in 21, and then he's played right tackle exclusively since then. So again, versatile swing position. There is a few weaknesses. So while I say he's quick with his feet, he can be slow out of his stance, sort of getting that explosion out initially off the snap. And while his feet are quick, sometimes they do more hop than move, which is almost shuffling like on his feet like that rather than actually striding, which can lead him to be a bit vulnerable to that speed rush, especially on his outside shoulder, where he hops and the guy just uses that, gets around him, and then he's sort of beaten. And if he's beaten, he kind of uses a flimsy push away technique. So instead of trying to reset his hands and grab back on, he just kind of goes like that, which isn't great, but can be coached out of him. It's just teaching him how to use his hands better in that. And while I said he's good against stunts, if you bring up a blitzer against him, sometimes he can just not do it right. There was a point where arguably he leaves 2 guys unblocked, which led to a sack. PFF didn't credit it, but there is times where he just kind of doesn't block inside out. He just goes for the guy he initially was lined up against, and it just leads to guys getting free rushes at the QB, which isn't great. And sometimes if they don't run it to his side, he just kind of gives up on the play. He's kind of there, and then as soon as he sees it's going the other way, he kind of just lets go and calmly carries on afterwards, walks up the field and gets ready to play the next snap, which could be an issue for us. But for me, when I was watching him, and I know the guy I'm about to mention didn't exactly have the best end to his career here, and it might have just been the uniforms that Notre Dame were playing while they were playing Ohio State. But I was getting major Tyrell Crosby vibes when watching him. Someone who Crosby mostly started at right tackle for Oregon, obviously before Penne, but can play left and right. Really good swing guy, good in pass pro, good run blocker, solid kind of guy. And for me, and I have seen his opinion said once elsewhere, but I saw it and I was like, you know what, I can see this. For me, Fisher is what some people think Tyler Guyton is, a young, athletic, offensive tackle, good agility, with a lot of upside, because Fisher is only, I think he turns 20. Yeah, he turns 21 today. Literally, as of today, he turns 21. So he's one of the youngest offensive linemen in this class. But he's got, and obviously with the experience on both sides, start him as a swing tackle. Hank can get his hands on him, coaching up how to use his hands, sort out that footwork where he's hopping a bit more, where he's been a bit too agile for himself. And you could have a really good starting offensive lineman under your hands in a few years. Right now on the board, he's the 11th offensive tackle, 100th overall prospect, so late day 2, early day 3 kind of guy. But because of that age and the athletic upside, he could be taken a damn lot higher. And because he has all that experience especially in gap power schemes, he should be on our team's should be on the line's radar. And if he's taken with that sort of third round pick or during day 3, we should be celebrating, because this guy could be a really good fit here.
Any thoughts on Blake Fisher, boys?
It's kind of a win-win situation because, as you say, he's got time on his side. He's a long-term project, but he can afford to be, because let's say he's got 2-3 years younger than a lot of people. Experience on both sides. He is young. He's athletic. He's got everything, the traits. Like I say, he just needs to land on a team with a good coach, a good system, and work out what side's best. Like I say, work out where he wants to play, where he thinks best for him. Alternatively, a coach that says where he thinks he will fit best and where he can get the best out of him. But yeah, he's the kind of guy, like you say, you'll bring in on certain downs, certain games, certain packages throughout a rookie year, just so he can find his feet a little bit. Might make some guys pay for it, and long term, eventually he'll work out a plan for him. He's one of those guys, he's not really going to fail. Like I say, he either makes it as a left or a right tackle, or he's one of those guys you keep around like a Matt Nelson for years, like I say, and we'll just fill in where needs be, consistently, and you just keep around on the roster, and he's happy to do that. So yeah, it's a no-lose situation in that sense, really. You will get production out of him long term, either way.
I have nothing, Ant. You? No. All right, we'll move on to our next guy, one of mine. And this is the first of our potential first-round picks I'm going to profile. And it is the Oklahoma tackle, Tyler Guyton. So Tyler is a bit of an athletic freak. He had a fantastic combine. He's 6'8", 322, 10.25-inch hands, 34 1/8 inch arms, wingspan 82 1/4 inches is ridiculous. 7.53 cone, 4.71 short shuttle, 34.5 foot vert, 8'11" broad. That's good to put him at 9.7 on RAS. So if you like that, you're going to like Tyler Guyton. In terms of his draft stock at the moment, going all the way back to early December, he was in late day 2 territory at 63 or so. Now, though, at this point, the consensus has him at number 28 overall. So you are talking someone in that fringe first round conversation. He is a 1-year starter only, having played 2 years at TCU, playing a total of 31 snaps on offense. One of those games was at H-back, which is interesting. Otherwise, he transferred to Oklahoma, played 401 snaps in 22, seemed to have some injury and consistency issues, and then in 2023, 663 in this most recent year, but his worst PFF grade of 63.7. Now, this is the prototypical project. He obviously is an athletic freak. There's no denying that. But that really pops up on tape. So gets out of his stance really quickly, gets to the point where he pulls and he's blocking. He's in a scheme which doesn't exactly translate very well to the NFL. So, it's a RPO kind of based team, and that is going to be difficult to see whether that actually translates. But it's multiple run schemes, so zone and counter concepts he must have seen quite a bit even in his 1.5 years at Oklahoma. However, he's one of the least polished prospects I've profiled in the whole time that we've been doing this. So he gets pulled over quite easily. His balance is poor. He's quite, I said, patient in making his first punch, and that sometimes can translate to just being late. Gets fooled on stunts far too often. He sometimes doesn't seem to understand what's going on, and I think that's just a symptom of having not played enough snaps. Sometimes can't find the blocks on the second level, so despite having the athleticism, he's not seeing the defenders coming out in front of him and getting to his man. He's just in space out in front, but he's not really doing anything, which is just frustrating to watch considering how much athleticism is on display. Just misses blocks, struggles with people dipping around the edge. I would love to see James Houston against him because I think it would be an absolute massacre. Seems to lack lateral agility, so despite the fact that he can explode out of his blocks, if you ask him to take a step to the left or step to the right, I don't care what the shorter shuttle says, I think he'd struggle in in-game scenarios. This is a guy who I am taking with the hope of being a year 3 starter. I do not see him being able to start in year 2. I just think he's too raw of a prospect to be a guy in that scenario. So you got the lack of starting reps, but also the lack of true pass sets because they play mainly RPO at Oklahoma. So it's difficult in terms of translation, in terms of how many snaps he's seen, but also the scheme he's come from. For me, this is, and especially given the history otherwise that he's had, this is one of the riskiest draft picks of the entire draft, especially late first rounds where he's rumored to be going right now. I see people talking about him, and I can't quite believe that he's regarded this highly. Yes, he's an athletic freak, but do you really want to invest a first-round pick on a guy who's not even had barely 1,000 snaps? It's just mind-boggling to me that someone's going to risk this on a player who, for my money, I don't think he's going to sign a big-time second contract. I think that he'll get to the end of his rookie deal. I'm not even sure if he'll make it to the end of his rookie deal. Because I just think that I can see him flaming out. He's got to go to a situation which is just right. You want a veteran offensive line that's going to mentor him. You want a team which has excellent pedigree at developing these guys. And there are so many teams that get this wrong, that if you give them to a situation where that isn't the case, you have a look at what the Jets have done with Mekhi Becton, who is one of his comps per RAS, and how badly that has gone for them. And other teams have kind of done a similar thing too. I think he can be a good player in the NFL. If he hits a ceiling, he's going to be one of the best. But I just think the chances of that fairly low. And for that reason, I can't in good conscience take him before round 3. And even then, I would feel pretty trepidatious about risking premium draft value with someone who I just don't think is going to make it. Boys, this is a contentious guy. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to pick him, because I wanted to see it for my own eyes. Have you guys seen very much of Tyler Geisen?
Unfortunately. Hard pass. Any GM stupid enough to take him in the top 50, I would refer them for an MRI. Go check their brain. This kid has all the ID, all the gear, and no idea. I don't know what to do them. Like I say, he will flame out quicker than the Human Torch and the Niagara Falls. I just can't do it. You can't.
How do you come up with these analogies? I've never heard
with where we are right now, like you say, 29 pick. If we're taking a pick all 29, you're a starter. Like you say, you're getting thrown in and you will sink or you'll swim. Not like we don't run a crash. Our offensive line is good, but it's not a crash. We can't just be for 3 years babysitting and just hope they come good. So, I'd rather pass on him and he becomes one of the greatest NFL linemen in history and be like, oh, we're good for the kid. Then take him, and 3 years later we're going, oh, well, this guy, like you say, still doesn't know left from right. Like, we've had to write it on his hands with Sharpie because he still doesn't know what way he's going. That is kind of two ways it goes about it. And yeah, I don't want to be on that side of history.
See, Guyton is like, he's a poster child for why I hate athleticism getting so much involved in draft comparisons and picks. Everybody loves him as a first round pick because of his athleticism, and it's balls. Let me just explain why for that. So we've got player A and player B. Player A is a highly successful left tackle, multi-scheme versatile. He's tall, he's very athletic, he's very good at his job. He's got everything you need at the next level to be able to be a great tackle. Player B, he's a right tackle, not that much of a career right tackle. He's only had a couple of seasons there. He's highly athletic, but he's clumsy. He's not gotten a rhythm going. He's good in his pass set sometimes, but in his run blocking, he's absolutely trash. And he's a pure development guy. You're going to get something out of him there. And you're going to tell me one of those guys is a round 1 pick and one of those guys is a day 3 pick. And you're telling me the left tackle is the day 3 pick and the right tackle is the day 1 pick. Tylen Grable is better. He is just as athletic. He is just as tall. He is playing a tougher position in a tougher scheme. And you're telling me he's a day 3 guy. You're telling me he might succeed at the next level. And you want me to believe that Tyler Guyton is worth the 29th overall pick. Get the hell out my face with your athleticism stuff. It's garbage. Like, you look at him, he's got nothing at a lesser position, and you expect me to just go, oh, he's athletic, he's very good, he's played for Oklahoma. Nothing impresses me. Like Shania Twain says, you don't impress me much.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Would you guys take him in the comp pick territory in day 2?
I wouldn't take him at all. I think he's just going to be a big liability. He screams big man who has no idea what he's going to do at the next level. Like, I would sooner wait. If you asked me to start one of those guys in the NFL next year, I'd take Tylen Grable every single day of the week. I'd put him on the blind side. And I would have far more faith in the long term. He will work out better than Guyton would at right tackle. Like, just miss me with your athleticism stuff.
I'd only take him if we acquired an extra pick by moving back.
Any thoughts on Guyton?
I mean, I said it when I was comping Fisher. I would happily take Fisher over it. And you say, oh, you want to see James Houston against him. I know, technically, according to PFF, he only gave up 1 pressure to him. Just watch the Cheez-It Bowl from 2022. Because goes up against a very good pass rusher and he did not have a good day. Like, Guyton could easily, with the right coaching, he could turn out to be the next Trent Williams or something like that. But it's that right coaching, and 95, the range of possibilities is just too wide for you to use a high pick on him. If we do take him, we are probably one of the best places for him to come to have a good chance of turning out, because we do have that good offensive line for him to learn from. We have the best offensive line coach in the league, and I don't care anyone else says that is true. He could become good here, but yeah, he is way down on my list of people I'd happily take, as I said, Blake Fisher, who, is a bit less athletic, but you know what you're getting from him. He's way more refined, and he's still got that athletic upside to tap into as well. He's just not like big, flashy athleticism. So give me Fisher.
All right, Ryan, we're coming on to your last guy, Clark Barrington from Baylor.
Yep, so this guy, he's different to other guys because this guy is a pass protector. So he's a big old boy at 6'6", 305. Was invited to the Hula Bowl. He's got a 9'2" for 9¼ inch hands, 32 and 3/8 arms, 79 1/4 span. Now, a 5'10", 40 for someone very big and upright, he's fast in a straight line. He's a big old boy. He's also my most experienced guy, so he's played 55 career games. So he's pretty much played ever since he's joined football, nearly 3,500 snaps. Basically a career left guard. So as a freshman, 8 games, 350 snaps, which is a lot for a freshman on a starting line. So at BYU, 2 hurries, 2 sacks. He became full-time starter straight away. 10 games as a sophomore, 560 snaps, 6 hurries, still no sacks coming up. A junior, 13 games, 876 snaps, 10 hurries, just 1 sack. 12 games as a senior, 801 snaps, 7 hurries, just 1 sack given up. So only gave up 4 sacks in 43 games as a BYU Cougar. Now he's my only transfer. He decided as a 5th-year senior to take his game to the Baylor Bears. God knows why. Like I say, not the best move for him, unfortunately. 12 games. He did play the most snaps, did play every game. He also had to play centre as well as left guard at Baylor to cover for injury. So 11 hurries and 4 sacks given up this year. But I'd say he is a pass pro. Like I said, this guy, one of the things I've seen is like he kind of skis like he's a slalom and alpine skier. Like his feet separate and move quickly, moving around the outside in pass pro. So he's able to shepherd defensive linemen around the product. He's able to stay out in front and mirror them by extending and moving his feet. His bottom half coordination, his top half, apparently is very good. So that's a big trait that he's got there. The initial burst off the line is very good. So that initial, like say, 0 to 5 feet, like I say, when he's able to engage that all 5'10" of his 40, like I say, he is good in a straight line. Gets the head up and he quickly bursts forward. Another big trait is what they call a multiple striker. So he'll pop, hit the chest, they'll try and move, he'll disengage, he'll re-engage, and he'll do that as many times as it needs to win. He can take hands off, he won't grab, and he can readjust them and get them back on if they're trying to move from left to right, or he's able to mirror them, stay in front, and keep applying pressure. His hand-eye coordination is very good. He understands leverage to get under their pads, under their shoulders, cup them where they need to be, and then and if they're trying to rip his hands off, let them. As soon as they go again, engage again. Like I said, keep popping them, and by then he's bought more than enough time while he's moving backwards to keep his quarterback upright. So he's a big, tall, sturdy. Like I say, he's not the heaviest at only 300 pounds at 6'6". So he's a bit slender, but he's got good parallel and lateral movement moving backwards. The one big flaw is, so if all of the offensive line is on like Windows 14, when it comes to pre-snap adjustments, he's got that quick buffer. He's running Windows 98. Like I say, there's a little bit of a buffer with him, a little bit of a hesitation. And the problem is, by then, it's probably too late. If the ends on the linebackers have come underneath each other and they've slightly confused him, or he's taken just half a second to diagnose it too late, it could be a game over for them. And someone has come through unblocked. Or by the time he gets hands on them, he's trying to grab them or he's trying to bring them down. It's too late. So the pre-snap awareness and the diagnosis of what's trying to happen in front of him is probably where he needs to work on the most. Process things a little bit quicker, not by what he's seeing straight away, and then kind of he's adjusting on the fly, which you don't necessarily want. So he has been a long-term guard, maybe a potential left tackle one day. He's got the size. I'd say put on 10, 15 more pounds, build the base out. Like I say, make the core EFA. He's big, he's athletic, he's very experienced. He's played at 2 good schools. He's very good in pass pro. Like I say, he's got a lot of upside as a potential product. He's one of the older guys, but for me, he's probably where you're taking him. He could be, like say, a potential starter, like say in a year or two. Or he could be a guy, just keep on the practice squad for a couple of years, latches on somewhere. It's really it's a win-win. You can't lose in this scenario taking Clark. Like I say, he has done a lot of body of work over the years. He's got a lot to like about him. And the things that he struggles with are some of the easiest to work on, that he probably just needs to work on with more elite defenders facing that time. Just work on the reaction times. But everything he's got, I like. Like you say, he's comfortable going forwards, backwards, and side to side in pass pro. So he's able to maintain a pocket, keep a quarterback, give him room to step up in behind him, or he's able to then help him scramble. So yeah, He can work on the run blocking, but right now, like, he's a better pass pro. So you may just bring him in on certain downs in packages right now. He wouldn't be ready to take a full-time starting role for maybe a year or two. But I feel pretty good in the base he's got right now.
Clark Barrington, boys.
Nasty player. Love him. Like, BYU builds some really nasty, fierce offensive linemen, and obviously that was the system he was playing in before he went to Baylor. I watched plenty of him, so doing the Puka stuff last year and that, and because we did a segment on him on the college show, weirdly enough, because we thought he was going to declare last year, and he decided not to.
I thought he was going to leave BYU and declare.
Yeah.
I don't know why he went to Baylor.
No.
I don't think it went well for him.
No.
But he did play centre for the first time, but I don't necessarily think that was a good thing. They took him out of his natural position.
Yeah, which is left guard. I think he was playing at the time. But again, sort of, you think of who BYU are as a team, like that's him. Just nasty, aggressive. They love to run the ball. He'll just do all the dirty work in the world for you, and he'll go hammer and tongs at it. And he's just kind of one of those. Yeah, he's like a Detroit guy. Like just a guy you want to get behind. So. Yeah, the Baylor stuff has kind of made me question it a little bit. Like, maybe you should have gone earlier, but we've seen something, maybe not to like there. But, I find it hard not to root for him.
All right, and your last guy, and I hope I don't butcher the pronunciation, Xavier Gadlin.
Xavier.
It's Xavier.
Xavier. Yeah, you ruined me setup there. So I was going to say, and I'm going to finish off with one of my favorite ever guard prospects in this draft. Everyone was going to go, oh, God, no, it's Christian Haynes again. Here we go. But I was not going to subject you to that all because I've spent about a year chatting about him now and everyone knows. But yeah, Xavier Gadlin, he is the offensive lineman from Liberty, and he is the very definition. This is a development pick. But why do I like him? There's several reasons. So he's spent 3 years with Tulsa. He spent the last 2 years with the Liberty Flames. And when you look at where he's played, this is what I like about him. So his deployment in college, 1,010 snaps at left guard, 1,018 snaps at right guard, 1,493 snaps at right tackle. He's got 109 at center. He's got 53 at left tackle. Finding guys who have 1,000 snaps worth of experience at 3 separate positions is very rare. And people will go, oh, Andy, but you hate versatile linemen and stuff like that. No. If they're in college and they've played a lot around and they've done the whole bit in college and they've learned their positions, I don't mind them as much. I hate taking one position guys and moving them up to the NFL, but when they've done it in college, I don't mind so much. And, this is a guy, again, for me, is really easy to root for. So he's had 1,900 pass blocking snaps alone in college, a lot. He's given up 14 sacks, 11 quarterback hits, 51 quarterback hurries. He's 6'4", 320 pounds. He's a big, beefy tackle, kind of a little bit like Haynes, so maybe that's why I like him. But the versatility is extreme, and what you can do with him is extreme, because a lot of teams think he's going to be a center at the next level, and that's not even the position he's played a lot. So you have 4 position versatility there with him. He's had a very harsh career in college. So the second year at Tulsa, he was broken in. It was his first year at right tackle. He gave up 9 sacks and 10 quarterback hits. This was a guy who was developing. He was on a not very good team. He got left on an island on his own, and he got brutally exposed in that position. People go, well, it's not a very good sell point for him, but this is what college is about. It's about facing adversity and learning. And in the 3 years following that, where he's played at right guard, he's played at left guard, he's played all over. In 3 seasons, he's given up just 5 sacks and 1 quarterback hit. That is it. He has learned a lot and he has developed a lot over his time there, but he was smart enough to realize it wasn't quite working for him at Tulsa. So he went into the portal and he ended up at Liberty. And by his own admission, he never heard of Liberty when he went into the portal. He kind of threw himself in. He knew the coach there. He didn't know the team. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to take a chance on me and I'm going to go to a system. Even though it's completely out of my comfort zone, I'm going to go there and I'm going to do what I can. And he has transformed into one of the best guards for me in college football. This Liberty offensive line has been an absolute juggernaut this last 2 years, and I had to watch them pick apart my Arkansas Razorbacks last year when they beat them. That is beating Power 5 level opposition because of just how physically dominant they've been. That run game was the best in college football this season. They average more per game than Air Force, who run the triple option and who are the experts. It was nearly 300 yards a game they rushed for on the ground because they've got guys like Gadlin, as I say, who are just bruising maulers. And while he may not show he doesn't have a good RAS, etc., he has really good play speed. Again, he's another one. He gets to the second level quick. He can do the pulls. He can do what he needs to. But at his core, first and foremost, he just uses pure brute strength to run over you. The handwork is good. You know, the ability, as I say, to just, like, in games, they'll plug and play him in because they've had injuries on that line as well. And because he's been bedded in so hard, because he's had to go through a lot of adversity, learn all these positions, it's very difficult for a lineman to keep moving positions and to keep playing well, because at each position, everything changes a little bit. The assignments change a little bit, but you can see as he's gone along, he's learned. And he just looks so good now. He seamlessly fits into all parts of that line. And this last 2 years, like I say, they've been dominant. The questions do come because, unlike the other two guys on there, the level of competition, what Liberty have come up against, especially this year in the CUSA, I'm not going to sit there and say it's the creme de la creme. I'm not going to sit there and say they weren't the best team in that conference by a long distance. So it's going to be a step up for him. We've seen with Broderick this year. Like, from coming from the CUSA is not an easy transition to coming into the NFL. It's big. But in terms of, for a development guy, the scheme versatility, the positional versatility, having the tools to do what you need to do at the next level, he's got it. And you're going to spend a late day 3 pick on him at this point. Like I say, it's very rare to find someone who's this experienced in so many positions. So you have more chance at the next level of finding a home for him. If you want to move him around a bit, if you do have little packages for him, gives you more chance of hitting on this guy. And, you know, the last thing, like I say, I love this guy, and as a Brit, I love him. He's a Shakespearean actor. Bless him. He is cultured. You've seen him. Like, he loves it. He's just such an easy to root for guy. He does a lot of charity work. As I say, he loves the Shakespearean classics. So as a Brit, it's going to appeal to me there. But on and off the field, team leader, captain, like, he's gone through a lot, and he's one of the easiest guys to root for in this draft. So if I pick a development day 3, Xavier Gadlin, he's my guy. I love him. And if it's not Haynes, which will make me cry, I hope it's him.
Ash, have you seen Gadlin at all?
Yeah, I actually have. So I remember way back, it was Senior Bowl preview that you got that was on the college show. Obviously made the clip about Gadlin because of that Shakespearean stuff. And I went and watched him, and yeah, I liked what I saw. And the thing is, as you say, with the versatility, he knows all these positions. So he's a guy called Xavier, who's a very good leader and knows a lot of things. Perfect Twitter content. He's Professor X.
He is. Absolutely. Just said a little bit differently, but yeah.
Can you call him cerebral if he's Professor X, please?
Exactly. Twitter content.
You know what? He is. His play. It would. He's very clever. Like, again, when you play, because to be able to play that many positions, to be able to refocus your mindset and all that, it's very difficult. And they say to come back for, like, he just had a rotten season year 2 in, and a lot of guys just don't recover from something like that. But, like, he's not afraid of a challenge, and he's not afraid. But, and, like, if he does come up at center, because he's bigger, he's bulkier, he's actually fitted to play center. So if you want to play him somewhere like Lions, who we might need a long-term center, but if we don't, you can play him at guard. If you need a little bit of relief at tackle, you can play him at tackle. Is kind of a lovely little Swiss Army knife, which you can do a lot of different things with. And again, just he doesn't get love because he doesn't have a very good RAS. He like ran a 5.40 or something like that. Don't care. I don't give a stuff. Like, if he can't run a 40 he's an offensive lineman. They don't run 40s quickly. He plays well. His play speed's good. That's all that I care about. And yeah, easy to root for guy.
All right, Ash, let's move on to your last guy who I won't make the same mistake of with Ant's player of spoiling who your guy is.
Well, I meant to be kind of hinted to it early with one of Rye's guys. I'm looking at the Kansas State left guard Cooper Beebe. Obviously, why I've called myself what I did today. As for his RAS, since we just mentioned it, 9.26 size, good. 6'3", 322 pounds. He did. He's got 9.25 inch hands and 1.5 inch arms, and it's one of the guys that actually did the bench rep. He did 20 reps on it, which is 2.68 according to the RAS. His explosion, good. 37.5 inch vertical, 9'1" broad jump. But the testing numbers for speed and agility were elite, supposedly. 5.03 40-yard dash with a 1.74 10-yard split, both pretty good numbers. And in terms of the shuttle, 4.61 shuttle and a 7.443 cone, both really good numbers. And according to Rise, one of his athletic comparisons is the former Packer and Bear offensive lineman Josh Sitton. So there's someone who might ring a couple of bells for the fans. This year, he had an 83.9 offensive grade with a 90.4 pass block and a 79.9 run blocking grade. He allowed 9 pressures, which are 2 sacks and 7 hurries all season. And I watched the Oklahoma game from last year because, unfortunately, Cadiz didn't really have much of this year. 64.1 offensive grade, 67.6 pass block, 62.7 run block. He allowed 2 pressures, which was a hit and a hurry. So that's his strengths, experience, and high IQ. So he's played 3 years of starter reps at left tackle, left guard, and right tackle. He also played 25 snaps at right guard in 2021. He uses his hands really damn well, and he's able to, when he's locked onto someone, be that in the run or the pass, he's pushing them back, he's getting them out of the way, and so he's able to move people in the run game, and he can anchor really well against those ball rushes using his sort of sand in his pants, good lower body. And he generally does everything well. Like, there's not really too much wrong with his thing. He's just kind of like, he does everything well, which is kind of surprising considering, and this is where it's going to get controversial a bit, maybe. I know, obviously, Riz said on the DLP on this instance today, there's a top 10 prospect for him. So I was expecting to come in and see great tape, and it wasn't great. It was just all right. Like I say, he does everything well, but does nothing great. Everything was just kind of, like a 6, 7 out of 10. Nothing really stood out. I was like, here's an elite trait that makes him a first rounder. And despite those good testing numbers, like elite speed, elite agility, it just doesn't show up on tape. He's a plodder. He's slow out of his stance sometimes, and he doesn't convert that speed that he supposedly has into the power. And his feet are just too heavy to face the twitchier pass rushers on the inside. So there was a rep in the Oklahoma game where the DT just steps right across his face and gets past him, and he just shows no effort to recover afterwards. And he's just so vulnerable to the spin move as a counter against him. And the worst thing is, and I've hinted this earlier, he has such a weird pulling technique in run. So instead of running like you see usually people do, he crab walks. He just goes, instead of like running, he just goes as his pulling technique. And it's just so slow and weird. Like, I don't know if that's what's been taught to him at KCU, but I just didn't get it. And when he's not matched up against someone initially, where he doesn't have a DT coming at him or someone coming or a linebacker, he just stands there for a couple of seconds and then just looks and then latches onto a double team. He doesn't go and actively seek work. He doesn't climb up to the next level and just try and maul people. So, while he's the third, currently the third guard on the consensus board, 62 overall prospect, so late second rounder kind of. And he could go high in day 2 or even back end of day 1, depending on how the board falls. Like, he could be played with our first round pick. And I know Riz has said top 10 guy. It's just not worth it for me. That late second rounder, I'll be happy with him there because he can come in, learn a bit, take that starting right guard job next season, and he would be the long-time starter there. And the reason I say right guard, despite him playing mostly left guard this season, is because just in our current scheme, that our right guard is the power guy. The left guard is the guy that pulls. You need the mobility there. And for me, he just is more of that power guy than the finesse guy. So you have him behind Kevin Zeitler, learning all of his tricks of his trade. You could get the next Kevin Zeitler, but for me, he's just not worth that late first rounder. If he's there with our second rounder, I'm happy. Take him there. You've got an eventual right. You've got your right guard for the next foreseeable future. But for me, he's not a first rounder, despite where he's going in some mocks.
And any thoughts on him, on Cooper Beebe?
He's a player I can't help but admire. I do like Cooper. Because we all expected him to declare last year, and he didn't. He went back for one more year with K-State. Obviously, they're coming off the back of the Big 12 title, and to be fair, he's had a really, really good season. And against some of the best opposition, we saw him, because one of the games that sticks in my mind this year that I really enjoyed was when K-State played Mizzou. And Mizzou have got a really good defensive line. We're going to see some of their prospects in the draft this year, and they manhandled them, put up over 30 points on that team, and it's been very difficult this year. And as a guy, he just, again, that K-State line's got a lot of talent to it. We know KT Leviston's in this draft, Cooper Beebe is in this draft here. Just the guy is physical, he's intense, and he's built like a fridge. But a fridge that moves with, well, like I say, maybe like Sebastian the Crab out of Little Mermaid, but still, he moves with grace, a graceful Sebastian the Crab out of Little Mermaid. But he's got the frame, he's got the build, and I have no idea what the athletic scores would indicate, but for me, he's perfectly athletic. He's got the athleticism he needs to thrive. And he's also quite a versatile player as well. He's played, I believe, both tackle spots. I think his sophomore year, he was right tackle for them. Believe he's played a little bit of left tackle in relief of KT Leviston as well. So, again, he can move around if you need him to on that line. You can do a little bit with him there. So, I really like it. I would have drafted him last year. But he's had a really good year, in fairness. So, in terms of complete guard prospects, he's probably the one who's closest to being complete. Because that K-State offense is very, very balanced. They're not heavily run, they're not heavy pass. They mix a good bit of both in there. So their offensive line, they have to do everything. It's not like they're run orientated or they're pass blocking orientated. They're very much jack of trades type thing, but he does it all to a very good level. So I'm a Christian Haynes stan, so automatically that means no, because you can't have one and have the other. So in terms of preference, absolutely not. But if the lines go that way, then, as long as it's not too high. But yeah, he's a player I can't help but admire. I do really like him.
All right, moving on to the last guy we're profiling in detail before talking about the class in general is offensive lineman from Duke, Graham Barton. And so Graham Barton is a 4-year starter at Duke at left tackle, with injury issues at the start and end of his career in 2020 and 2023. I say starter at left tackle for 4 years. No, 3 years. Starter at centre in year 1, I should have said. And that really speaks to why people are regarding him as a true 5-position flexible player. He's getting penciled in a lot at centre in this draft. I actually think potentially his best spot is going to be at left guard at the next level, but it's much for muchness, really. I don't care. I do think that potentially the injury issues, but the fact that he's had injuries in his college career, especially not being able to be at the combine, might hurt his stock slightly. And that's the only negative thing I'm going to say about Graham Barton. You will not hear another negative thing from me about this guy. Watched a couple of games of his a mediocre game for him and his worst game of the season, which I think was against FSU. And he is one of the most impressive players I've watched on an offensive line, apart from Penei Sewell. I know that puts him in elite company, but it's ridiculous how much I like this prospect, and I'm sure you've heard people speak about him so glowingly. I know that you have if you like the NFL draft. Why are you apologising for me saying Duke? It is Duke.
Duke, not Duke.
It's Duke.
You're saying Duke. It's not Duke. Stop
It's
it.
a dookie. It's dinky.
Duke.
Uh,
Say it right.
So he's an exceptionally athletic player. Obviously, he couldn't test at the combine. I don't need to see it. He springs out the blocks with the explosion that you want to see, especially from a run mauler. But he's not just that. He has awesome speed to power, which I know that you normally talk about in the context of edge defenders. But he has it on the offensive line. I mean, he's just going to create space. He's 6'5", 314, and every bit of it. The momentum he can generate is exceptional. He's flexible, he's malleable, he's got great grip, he's got really good anchor, he's agile, he drives his legs ridiculously. He'll engage in a block, and if he's in run blocking, those legs are going to absolutely pump until he finishes you. I mean, it's like watching Sonic speed up his legs. It's really funny to watch. It's great. His torque and his upper body is fantastic. When it comes to screenplay, he fakes his blocks really well. I can't adequately explain this, but just he looks like he's in pass pro before throwing his guy aside and getting out there, more so than I've seen other guys. You know, the offensive line can sometimes tip the hand when it comes to screen work, and he's not going to be one of those because he's just exceptionally polished. From snap to snap, one of the most consistent guys in this draft. I mean, you're just not going to see a bad one from this guy. He's not got a wrestling background. He's actually a former lacrosse player. But I see wrestler traits, and I know that lacrosse is a very physical game, so that doesn't really surprise me that maybe I see some crossover in that sort of thing. Balance is fantastic. If he needs to carry a block sideways as the rusher tries to get alongside him, he's able to move with them. Whether it's a bull rush, whether it's a stunt, anything like that, he's absolutely fine with it. There was one thing where I saw him get pancakes by Jared Verse. We'll come on to edge defenders later on, but that was maybe the only negative play I saw from him. Doesn't really get to the second level as often as I'd like him to, but I think that's maybe just that they don't ask him to do that a huge amount. It's more kind of screen work and otherwise just kind of fairly standard stuff. Verse also actually did swipe his hands down on a speed rush and was fairly successful at that. So maybe with the more polished guys who are really good at hand fighting, he can improve a little bit more on that. But I absolutely love this prospect. With a 5-position versatile guy, even if he's more akin to being an interior guy, I still think that he could play on the outside as a tackle if you really wanted him to. It may not be his best spot, but I think he'd absolutely live there fine. He is just so polished. You can drop him in now. He's going to be brilliant for you. I have no worries about that at all. I think I'm going to stop there because if I say much more, I'm going to get excited. Graham Barton, I'll say this. He's got a true first-round grade for me. I think that I would be comfortable taking him in the teens if I was picking there. I wouldn't trade up for him in the teens. If I was picking the teens, I'd be very, very comfortable taking him because I just think he translates instantly. When you look at Tyler Guyton going in a sort of similar range, I can't quite believe that they're regarded similarly because Barton's just going to be fantastic in the NFL, assuming he stays healthy. Have you guys seen much of Graham Barton from the college, which Ant is saying?
The Blue Devils. Of course, I have ACC bias and I love him too. Like, yes, bursted game a couple of times this season, just gone. But he's so good. And if he could stay healthy, he would be so much more highly regarded. But yeah, I really like him. It's rare that I like someone from such a usually bad school, but him and they've had a turnaround the past couple of years. And I think his kind of emergence as a really damn good offensive lineman, protecting the QB, protecting Riley Leonard, getting the run game going. He's been a part of that. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Blue Devils bounce back with obviously most of those key pieces kind of going. So it's kind of the right time for him to bow out now. Obviously, eligibility is obviously paid 4 years. Put the tape on there. Now it's time for him to go to the NFL and show it on the next level.
No, I absolutely can't remember Duke playing NC State at all recently. So yeah, that's
Oh, you mean?
yeah.
Oh, I wonder
Shut up!
why.
Shut up! Don't want anything to do with that. No, he's a very good player. That's just all I'll say. But this
Right.
way, he gave up one pressure against NC State and Florida State combined, and we have two of the better pass rushing outfits in that conference, and he's really in good. I mean, like it's no coincidence that Duke program has resurged the last couple of years, and it's down in large part to their quarterback and their offensive line being able, because they've always struggled on offense, like always, for time immemorial. They've been able to run the ball well. They've been able to pass the ball well. We got their lead rushing back for next year, so that's great for us. But yeah, he's a very good prospect, and like again, calling me this guy, but I won't say move him. I don't want to move him. I think in terms of attack, like he's one of the most ferocious tackles I've ever seen. Like coming out, like the dude just hits. Like he works with a level of power I rarely see from players like that, and I just think he's gonna be fine on a blind side defending a quarter battle. Like he's not gonna have any issues whatsoever. So, you know, might be God, but I would be quite happy to leave him at tackle as well. He's very good, and I'm very glad that we're never going to have to face him again. So good riddance.
I love it. Right. That is the 12 guys that we have profiled in detail, but obviously this is an absolutely stacked class of offensive linemen. I know that, generally speaking, it is regarded as one of the most talented offensive line drafts of the last 20 years. So you're talking about some properly elite prospects here. So let me just take you guys down the board and let's just see if we have some quick takeaways about some of the guys at the top. So starting with what appears to be now the consensus number one offensive lineman in the draft, which is Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame. Any thoughts on Joe Alt?
I mean, like, you only have to look at the list of left tackles that Notre Dame have put in the NFL over the years to know that it's one of the finest finest degrees of pedigree for left tackles in the NFL. Pure stop. Like, the dude is a monster. And, he's made, the kind of Notre Dame guys, they get underappreciated because they don't get the national sparkle that some of these others do. But trust me when I say that guy he's tremendous. Like, he's a day one left tackle in the NFL, and he's going to be there for a decade. Like, and he's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler, all pro potentially at the next level. Like, I've got absolutely no doubt that he is going to be tremendous, and where he goes, who knows? Just as I would prefer it not be in the NFC North, so if they could stay away from him or whatnot, but terrific player.
Yeah, he might not have at least from what I've seen and heard, he might not have the athletic upside to be like a Trev Williams, Penei Sewell kind of top tackle in the league kind of guy, but he's going to be top 5, 10 tackle in the league for most of his career. Obviously, we'll probably have some rookie struggles as he gets up to the NFL pass rushers, and with his slightly small arms, there's another guy. It seems his class is full of guys who are really good, who just have short arms compared to the consensus. But he's going to be damn good. Yeah. If we can look back in 10, 15 years and be like, whoever took him is going to have a damn good pick.
Yeah, the only notes I had here, his grade out of 100, 100 being the number one overall pick, and 90 to 99 being true first round grade, with the 80s being the fringe first rounders. I gave him a 98. I think he's as athletic as he needs to be. The great thing about him is he's the most consistent offensive lineman maybe in the draft. He's 6'8", and that doesn't give him trouble, and that's the biggest compliment I think I can give him, really. But he is going to be instantly a top 15 tackle in the NFL. I just think day one he will be that good. So doesn't give me any pause whatsoever. Should be a top 5 pick. Let's see what happens if that actually happens, because I think the wide receivers and quarterbacks are going to push him down. But in terms of talent, he's in my top 5. Let's go to OL2. There's a lot of movement in these guys, so apologies if they aren't ranked in the same way. These rankings are slightly out of date still, but Olu Fashanu from Penn State, boys. Any thoughts on Olu, who obviously has been up there in rankings the last 3 seasons, but for the first time potentially has started to fall a little bit?
Should have gone last year. Like, he was a top 5 pick last year in a class that wasn't as good at, well, no, that's a lie. Probably was better at quarterback. These year's guys are getting overhyped, but he should have gone last year. The problem is, like, that Ohio State game this year just raised so many questions. He was so bad. And for him, like, and you know, people know the college pod, I went all in on Penn State this year. This was the year they were meant to break the mold in the Big Ten. And they folded against a bad Ohio State team. But they were there to be had, and they folded, and he played awful. Like, his pass pro was bad. He allowed Drew Aller to get harassed all game. And I'm looking at this. I'm looking at JT Tuimolu, and I'm like, you ain't an elite edge rusher. Like, why are you struggling with him? These are guys who I would expect better of you. And it just raised too many questions about, like, is that what a top 5 tackle is? So I'm the same. He should have gone last year. He'd be doing well in the NFL now. Could he still be great? Absolutely, he could. But that Ohio State game raised questions that I can't answer at the minute.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. I mean, his athleticism can't be denied, but he was just taken to town by JT Tuimoloau, if I've said that right. Moloau.
Tuimoloau. He's not a good. People from Ohio State will say he's great. He's good, but he ain't elite. Like, he ain't going to be anywhere near the top of what you're coming against in this level.
Absolutely, and he really took him to pieces, and he just seemed a bit lost at sea. I gave him a sort of fringe first round grade because just here's my thing with him. His hands aren't good enough to be a finesse guy, and he's not aggressive enough to be a finisher. So what is he? Like, I don't know what he does really, really well. He's just got a lot of promise. You can see that he's not far away, but he wasn't far away 2 years ago. Like, he doesn't really seem to have gotten better. And I like my guys to have progress through their college career. But, you know, Penn State have good offensive lines. They have done for a while. And he was one of the best 2 years ago that they had. And now I don't know anymore. Like, you're right, the Ohio State game has just thrown everything into question. But even then, his season wasn't fantastic for how good he's been regarded as a prospect. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him fall to the late teens, which is a massive fall.
He was in a rare situation where he had nothing left to prove. Like, there are very few college players who can say, actually, I've got nothing to prove by going back. Every college player can go back and improve on something. He's one of the rare exemptions that didn't. There was nothing for him to improve on. And the trouble is, when you go back and then you don't play as well, it's like, oh, hang on. Is it, you know, is there issues here that we didn't see, which is the problem? Like, I still would back him more than not to succeed, but it just was not as likely as 12 months ago.
Right, next up is maybe one of the pod's favourite players in tackle from Oregon State, Talise Fuanga. And I have been reliably informed by many people who I've listened to, because I've profiled him in detail, is that there's no N in his name, but you are meant to say Fuanga. I don't know, but I've listened to a lot on him, so I'm going to get this one right. But I know you've been leading the fan club for him.
Yeah, so I don't know whether I hot take this was not a hot take the other week, but in terms of who is the best overall tackle prospect in this class, pure stop, like, it might be him now. Like, if you say in this time in 10 years, who out of all the tackles in this draft class is going to have the most all pros? who's going to have the most decorations like that. I think it's him. Like, he is a railroader at right tackle. Like, you have never seen anything, not since Sewell, have you seen anything so dominant, especially when it comes to the run game. And don't be fooled into thinking the pass pro is really good as well. There's stuff to work on, but like that run blocking is elite. He's just like a snowplow that just sees a load of things in front of him and goes, "Screw this! I'm just gonna separate you like Moses and the Red Sea." That is it. He's just a road grader.
Mr. Plow would be the best.
He is.
Nickname.
He's just a road grader, and like he is gonna start day one on a team. Like I've penciled him in. Well, I've put him in pen to the Chargers. Like the Chargers need, especially with Jim Harbaugh going there. Harbaugh's going to run that football like his life depends on it. It's what he does. It's what his program's about. And Trey Pipkins ain't it. Like he will be having wet dreams over Fuaga. And I would bet them to trade back if there's not quarterbacks just a little bit with somebody who wants to come up for a receiver or something, and he'll take Fuaga, and he could be an all-pro in a year. Like, that's his ceiling. He's incredibly talented. He's tackled, like, only Joel, I reckon, could do better in his first year than him. That's where he's at right now, for me.
Ash, you seen him at all?
Yeah, like a couple of weeks ago, I had him penciled in at 10 to the Jets, but now, yeah, it seems they've sorted out their offensive line problems for now. But yeah, just he is going to be a starting right tackle wherever he lands, pretty much. And yes, I completely agree with the fit with the Chargers. If the Chargers trade down with unnamed purple team in our division for QB and they get to the 11, if he's still there, they're running the card up faster than we ran it in for Hutchinson. Like, he'd be, I agree completely, such a good fit there. Just, as much as I hate to see it, him in the first round, Corum in the second round, that Chargers offense is going to be good.
I would call that now. I would call the trade, the pick, and because I think they've got 2 second-round picks, so Corum will be one of them. They got a low enough to, but Fuaga to Chargers it's the most perfect scheme fit of anybody in this entire draft. It just makes all the sense.
So I had Alt at a 98. I have Fuaga at a 97. I mean, I have them that close. The thing about Fuaga that I potentially like more than Alt is that he's a culture setter. Alt isn't. Alt is just someone that you wheel out there and he's going to be kind of like Decker, but slightly better. You know, Alt's just going to be Mr. Consistent, prove it by example. Fuaga, he's urgent. He's a finisher. He's going to make people look stupid because he wants to absolutely dominate. I watched the Washington State game. He got a personal foul because he pancaked a guy and then just jumped on him on the floor because he was celebrating. Like, it was weird. It was like he swan dived on the poor bloke. But that's the sort of guy he is. Like, he's having fun. He wants to dominate. And people are going to love playing with him. Like, he's going to be that guy in the middle of the huddle like we have Saul leading everything because he is just someone who needs to be great. He's the sort of guy that you want to watch if you love football, and that is why we're all here.
Yeah, like he'd be your protestant. Like Dan Campbell would love him. Like, if we needed a tackle this year, like we would do the trade like we did for JMO. And I think they'd maybe go even higher for him. But the other thing for Fuaga, and you have to think about it, like the level of competition he comes up against on a weekly basis. They play Utah, they play UCLA. Like, these are some of the most elite defenses in the nation with some of the best pass rushers, some of the strongest defensive lines, best second levels. Like, it's the hardest level of competition for an offensive lineman. The Pac-12 is a nightmare. And he's never given up a sack before. And year after year after year, these teams just produce tons of NFL talent, and he looks dominant against that. Like, he played against Latu, and he made Latu look like a little boy, and he did. He played really well against Latu.
Latu beat him a
So
couple of times.
So on that UCLA team, you've got the Murphy brothers, you've got Latu, you've got a ton of depth on that team.
No, absolutely.
And they've made them look
really hard
stupid.
team. Yeah.
And
generally
this
speaking,
is the kind
it was
of
a good
comments they
game.
come up against. Yeah, and they've been really good. They've defended DJ Ongalele really well this year. He's looked resurgent. It's the level of competition is massive. He has to face elite talent every week, which is why he's so damn good.
Yeah, agree. Moving on to what are a lot of people's favourite offensive tackle prospect, maybe not number one guy, but just people really like him, in JC Latham. I've not watched JC Latham, so I can't lead this off at all. Has either of you watched JC Latham?
Say so much. I don't watch much Bama football in the grand scheme of things, unless they're playing the Razorbacks.
Really consistent career, 2-year starter at Bama, 6'6", 335. His PFF grades 75, 75.7, and 81.9. Good in both pass and run block. 7 penalties this year is not ideal, but we move. Amarius Mims is the next guy. Tackle from Georgia. Very, very limited number of starts, I know. He's another guy who is getting drafted based on athletic freak territory. 6'7", 340. He's played 803 snaps in his career. More so, though, than someone that I profiled earlier in Tyler Guyton. I would say that he has put on good tape, but I would say that it is inconsistent.
Mekhi Becton.
Grass.
No, honestly, as a player, very good. You really want to root for this guy, but then you saw he pinged the hamstring again in this off. The guy has a problem hamstring. Guys that tall, putting that much pressure and weight on their body, he keeps getting injured. And you've seen what's happened to Mekhi Becton in his NFL career. Big dude, but he's hurt. And he keeps putting pressure on that body, and it keeps failing him. If you separate the injuries out, yeah, the dude's a freak, a complete freak, and he could be really great at the next level. But the trouble is, you can't separate the injury history. You got to understand what these linemen have got to do. All the falling back, the giving back, it takes its toll on your legs, and you got to put so much pressure on it. And it's I'm not spending a teen's pick on you when you're that big and you've got the worst injury possible, recurring injury possible for that position. So I cannot separate it. Great player, injuries are going to derail him. That's how I feel.
Right, I've got 3 more players I just want to touch on. First is Troy Fautanu, guard from Washington. Versatile player, I know, but I haven't actually seen a lot of him. Have you guys watched any of him at all?
Watched the championship game. I like him. Obviously, he's one of those that obviously started left tackle, didn't he, for them? Sliding inside. Good athletic guy. I like him. Probably will be gone by our pick, though. That's the problem.
It's odd, because I watch a ton of Washington football. I watch a lot of Pac-12 football this year, but I'm always looking at the receivers. I'm not looking at him. So I've kind of watched a lot of football, and I don't really know a great deal. So I can't really add a lot to that.
The 2-year starter, 75.1 grade this year. First time he got an 80 grade or above in any aspect, getting it in pass blocking, but got a 77.9 last year. Run blocking grades leave a lot to be desired this season. Pass blocking went through the roof, so take of that what you will. And the next is Jordan Morgan, which I have actually detailed in I've reviewed him in particular. Left tackle from Arizona, 6'0", so just a shade under 6'5", 312 pounds, 83.5 grade this year with PFF. Watched a couple of games. Braylon Trice made him look not so great, which is not a good sign considering I don't like Braylon Trice. He doesn't overpower people, he's a consistent blocker. He struggles with people jumping across him. So if you have someone who has kind of weird pass rush that you might not have seen before. He's going to take a little while maybe to adjust to that sort of thing. Again, think James Houston, because he does that sort of thing, and the sort of the jump hop step sort of thing that people do. He's going to struggle with that. Can get up to the second level to block on swing passes and screens and stuff like that, but he's not an elite athlete. Sometimes plays too high, pad levels in question, backpedals too easily. His anchor is not in question, but just against the bigger guys, he might struggle. His initial punch lacks a little bit of power. But he's got high IQ, he knows his assignment, he executes it. The other thing though, like, he can struggle in the ball rush against the bigger guys, can struggle against the technicians in hand fighting as well. So he's a guy who is pretty consistent, adequate athleticism, good player at college without being great. And this is a guy being regarded as a sort of back end of the first round, top of round 2 sort of guy. I don't see it. I think that he's someone who is maybe going to be a career backup in the NFL, because I don't see a lot of mobility in his game. Because I'm not sure that his issues are massively fixable. That's just an impression I have. But I do think the people mocking him at the back end of the first round are just a little bit high on him. I wouldn't mind taking him in round 2, because I think he's adequate. And I think that he's going to provide you a floor. But I struggle seeing it with him. Either of you guys watch Jordan Morgan, Arizona?
Lead right back.
I kind of feel that's a little bit harsh. Like, again, you have to consider where he's been. He's very experienced. That Arizona team has been garbage for years, until these last couple of years where Jed Fish has done a magnificent job with that team. You are defending the blind side in the hardest... It's the hardest conference in football when it comes to being an offensive tackle. Just in terms of the sheer amount of opposition you're up against there. He's given up, 3 sacks in the last 2 years. He is great in the run game, great in the pass. Like, he's forte in both sides of the game. And that Arizona team is a small fish in a very big pond in there. Like, he has a lot of pressure on him. The line around him is not as talented as some of his counterparts in there as well. And they've flourished. Like, they were 1 game away from getting in the Pac-12 title game this year. And they made some big upsets this season. And, like, he's at one of the most important positions. And he's been really good. I think his trouble, he's vastly overrated by the media, but he's underappreciated as a player. It's a weird dynamic to have, because, like, in an ideal world, people would be saying he's a late day 2 pick or something like that. And I would be bashing the bat saying, actually, I think he's a little bit better than that. But because everyone's saying he's a first round pick, it's hard to say that he's underrated, because obviously he's not getting underrated. But if you get what I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's better than what people think he is. The trouble is, like, people are saying he's first round pick, so it's very difficult. But I've got to take his situation into circumstance. I've got to take how that team's built it and turned it round, and he's been a big part of that. So, again, if I'm looking for a guy who's going to tone set, who is going to prove people wrong, and come into a tough situation and handle the pressure, I would absolutely give him a shot at the next level, 100%. But just not a first round pick. I just think he's vastly overrated by the wrong people, but underappreciated.
All right, the last guy who is rumored to go in the first round, consensus-wise, is the interior offensive lineman from Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson. Have either of you watched him at all?
Senior Bowl, and I loved him. Didn't everyone?
I watched him against Oregon State today. Sorry, Ant, if you wanted to jump in.
I was just about to say, it's the weirdest thing with him. Like, no one was talking about him at all, even that long ago. It's odd how someone who is such a big prospect has had so little buzz in his time. I guess it's because Oregon have just consistently underachieved. But he's amazing. Like, again, Oregon is. People think that this flashy passing offense, Bo Nix passes for a ton of yards, but they also do run the ball pretty well as well. And he, again, is just dominant. You think of the level of nose tackle and defensive tackle he comes up against on a weekly basis. And that Oregon team has consistently been right at the top of the Pac-12. It's like, the dude is just, it's like a pancake machine. He's Denny's. He's IHOP. He just gives out pancakes like they're nothing. And, you know, if we were in need of a center at the top of the draft or something this year, I'd pound the table for him. I think he should go very high. Like there are a lot of teams in this league who need a center. You put a team's pick on him. I don't care. You've seen with Frank just how vital a center is to an organization and to an offensive line. I don't know why it's devalued. He should be a first-round pick. He should be a very high first-round pick. Just not what we need, though. Personally, I wouldn't do it.
So I watched him against Oregon State, and he's one of the best center prospects I've seen. Obviously, I didn't profile Frank coming into the league, but smart, aggressive, consistent, agile, fast, great hands, looks for work.
He looks better than Creed did. And I loved Creed coming out of college. He looks better than Creed.
I also think that potentially, the thing is, he's so smart that center is a really, really good position for him. But physically, there's no reason why guard can't be a better position for him. He looks more like a guard physically than he does a center. But is he wasted at guard because he's so smart?
The center's the tone setter. You've got to have a smart center who can adjust on the fly, who works well with his quarterback, and he's the leader of that team. And like we know, Frank sets the tone for it. Our offensive line is nothing without Frank. Like again, this whole thing about center being developed, it's only developed because you don't get guys like this very often. Like you will get one guy maybe a year who comes through who is like, man, this guy is just something different. Like, I got that with Creed. I can't believe, like, just the way he fell and felt, and guys went before him, and I'm like, what?
I remember you raving about Creed,
Josh
and we
Myers.
were just going mad.
Yeah,
that
is one of the funniest picks ever. Even Packers fans knew. It's like, you're taking the Ohio States, that are like, Jesus Christ, but...
Yeah.
But for he's a transcendent talent for his position. You keep him at center because that is your anchor locked down for as long as he is healthy and wants to play in the NFL, and he will just be a perennial All-Pro candidate for his entire career. That's how good he is. Because let's face it, the best centers in the NFL, Kelsey's retired. Ragnow will have a few years left at most. Lindsley retired. Like, the true, proper, high-grade NFL centers are dying out, and he's going to be, he's going to be the next great one.
So just to put into perspective how much he's risen in the draft process, his overall rank at the moment is 24th, which means that is the mean average of his drafts at the moment. The consensus pick for him, however, is 16th to Seattle. So that's higher because that's the mode of the averages where he's coming out. That's, as we are speaking now, the 25th of March. On the 14th of December, his average rank, remembering as 24th at the mean average rank today, 14th of December, it was 178. No one has risen more in a more meaningful way than Jackson Powers Johnson, and he absolutely deserves it. That is... Sorry.
If the Chicago Bears were a smart organization, they would put him in front of Caleb Williams. I will just say that now. Like, you want your quarterback of the future, you protect him. And you put the damn best center you can get in front of him because he is a guy who is technically sound and you're going to get no problems from him. You've got to get none of this because you've seen their line of it. It's just been disorganized. It's not good. Like, if he's there at 9, you don't discount him at 9. It's not a stupid organizational move. I would be terrified if they put him in front of Caleb. Like how you're going to get to him if you're going to build like that. That's how high he could go and how high maybe he should go.
All right. That's all the potential first round prospects. There is one more who might slip into the back end of the first. I'm not going to profile him at the moment because I just don't think he is. We're not fans of his anyway, I don't think. There are some questions that we have, but I'm going to end the audio show here and take them on the post show. If you want to listen to the questions that we had, go to YouTube and Twitch, where you can see those. Guys, any thoughts before we sign off on the audio show?
Christian Haynes is still the best prospect in this draft at offensive line. Out.
Mic drop moment. All right. So that's going to be the end of this one, episode 261. I can't believe it. Our next show is going to be another positional prospect show. I think, Ant, you gave me the choice before of edge and safety. I also want to throw an X wide receiver there as our choices. So it's going to be one of those positions, but we need to talk about where, and then we'll publicize what's coming out. That's the next main
trying to find
show.
12 of them. Good luck trying to find 12 different ones of them in this draft.
I think there's plenty of X's out there, but you just don't like Cornelius Johnson, so never mind.
No, I'm just a Joshua Cephas stan, so
there we go.
Key on.
Anyway, College Podcast. You can see from last week the 5 prospects from each position show last week, and the HBCU Legacy Bowl recap, and just generally talking about that with the coach coming on Saturday. So please do come and check that out. You can find us on the socials, Roar of the Lions UK, on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Group for Worldwide Fans on Facebook is Detroit Lions Fans at UK One Pride Worldwide. On the website, rotluk.com. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate us 5 stars, all that good stuff. Thank you to Ryan McCluskey, who had just had to pop away about 20 minutes ago, to Ant and Ash for doing this for me. As always, guys, in the chat, you've been absolutely fantastic. If you're listening on the audio show, really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully we'll see you shortly. For now, we're less than a month away, boys. Let's go, Lions. One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.
Few questions. Mike the Marine says, what's your opinion on Matt Farniok, the interior offensive lineman we signed at the end of last season?
He's all right. We signed him a bit earlier than last season. He came back on the futures deal. He's been around here since about the bye. He was with Dallas at the start of last year, and he was in contention for a starting guard job for them. Just they had other options. We need to get him go for cap reasons. We've picked him up. He could be a good backup guy on the practice squad. Could fight out in camp and potentially shift our seeker out to sort of like last interior backup spot, but they might side with our seeker right now just because he's actually played games for us in this scheme. So
I have nothing to add. I have no idea.
Fair enough. 7th round pick in 2021 of the Cowboys. All right. Ward, I always get Ward's surname wrong, so apologies, Ward. Asking about Zach Zinter. I haven't yet looked at Zach Zinter. I liked what I saw on tape from him in the season, but I haven't actually taken a good look at his cut-ups yet.
He's all right, and the good news is based on our other big prospects who had a similar injury, he was back in doing weights and stuff last week, so Zinter could be on the road to be doing stuff come training camp time.
Anyone who threatens Haynes' arrival on this team just does not get my attention, so no. Sorry.
McExperiment asked about the person I alluded to who might go the back end of the first round, said, is he related to Penne? Yes, was the answer. I've seen several mocks saying Sua Matia might go in the early 30s, which is just too rich. It doesn't make sense.
Too rich. Just ignore the fact he's Sewell's cousin. Trust me when I say he is not Penny Sewell. And I liked him once upon a time. There's just too much lazy work on his tape and plays off too, he's not got Sewell's mentality. Don't fall for it.
Last question from Big Aries is just a bit of a fun one, I think. What percentage chance do you give to the Lions trading back in round 1?
45%. As much as we had a discussion earlier in Discord, I'll be a bit upset if we trade out the first, because I want the excitement of that first round pick being in the crowd for it. So missing out on that would be a bit disappointing. But I can see it happening. Just trade back, pick up another third, fourth kind of pick this year, something next year. Because the gap between what we can get at 28 and what we can get at like 40, 45, we might still be able to get the same guy. It's not if we don't, it's not going to be much of a drop off. Like, we're getting right into Christian Haynes territory. So
yeah, I'm at 40%.
The odds of it happening are directly linked to who Brad Holmes likes. He's not just going to trade down. It depends who it is, though. Like, we don't know whether he's going to trade up or down. Like, if there's someone he likes who's above him, he'll trade up for them. If not, he'll trade back. But
I think the chances of him picking at 29, I would say, are about 25%. 20%.
Yeah.
I think they're very slim, because either somebody's going to fall low enough that he'll pull the trigger to go up, which I think that is the most likely thing, because given, like, especially with so many quarterbacks going early in that and offensive line, they're going to be cornerbacks and defensive guys who fall. And I think when you get to 20, I think that's when you're going to start seeing Brad go, I might go up here.
So what you're predicting is that he's going to go, here's Johnny to you.
Yeah. I think I did. What did I do? I got him moving up to like 22 or something for Jose Newton. I mean, just Christ, like, if they fine, the rest of the league, you don't know what you're missing. Let him fall. Let us get better. You're gonna rue the day when your quarterback's lying mangled on the ground. Salim and Hussein and Aiden have wrecked him within an inch of his life. Then you can go, oh well, we should have drafted him. Oh well, the line's got a steal. It's just inexplicable. He's not done anything to lose his draft stock. If you're gonna let us have him, woe betide you. Your quarterback's a toast.
All right, that's going to do it for our questions. So we're going to end this here because it's been a long stint. Thank you guys on the live show for sticking with us and asking some questions. We'll see you later on in the week for the college show and then another positional prospect show. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you soon. I can't speak. It's this time of the night. See you guys. Bye.
Go on, Pride.